Hello and welcome to the Overwatch Atlantic Showdown, coming to you live from Gamescom 2016 in Cologne, Germany. We have the 8 best teams in the world who fought their way through qualifiers in their regions, and now they got here onto this stage to play for the big money and of course the title as the champion. And I'm not alone here. I have Huck Demon as well as Fishsticks joining me on the desk. And guys, I am so excited for all the upcoming games we're having the next few days.
Yeah, I'm very excited because obviously I've been going through the whole rigmarole all the weeks running up to this one, so I'm very excited to see who's going to win. I still don't have a clue.
Yeah, we're finally going to be able to say who is the best in the world, whether it's North America or Europe. No one knows at this point, although North America's looking pretty strong, guys.
Although they're Europeans.
I like that wink you got there. They're looking pretty strong. Gotta be fair though, it seems to me that one of the strongest teams consists of a lot of European players.
That's true.
So, just want to throw that out there. Huck, are you excited?
I'm very excited. I think for once, maybe North America can actually challenge that contention spot, because it seems like in the history of esports, NA has always been a little bit weaker. But Cloud9, they've been on the up and up lately. I think Envious versus Cloud9, very probable final, but there's so much action and there's just so many variables. You know, a lot of times the teams haven't played live yet. A lot of times the teams haven't really faced each other, because a lot of the NA teams just kind of stick to playing NA teams. So I think it's going to be very, very exciting.
Yeah, so do I. And we're going to play the whole thing in a double elimination bracket. The top teams coming through and playing in the playoffs. And so it's going to be very exciting. We're actually going to take a look at the schedule so you guys know what is coming up for you today. And we're starting with Group A, where we got a very exciting match and a very close potential match with Misfits and Fnatic. Misfits, yeah, an incredible good team, first in Europe at the moment, but Fnatic, I think they got a really good shot there.
Yeah, Fnatic has definitely been on the up and up over the course of the last month. They qualified for this tournament in pretty convincing fashion. Of course, they've added players like IDDQD and Vonethil, who also come from Europe, but the team is rounded out by a pretty strong back end as well that's been playing together since the actually early phases of the beta as well.
Yeah, and the big, obviously, problem is they're up against effectively the #1 team in Europe right now, Misfits. So it's a real challenge. Fnatic had a wobble in qualifiers against Cloud9. They showed that they can lose track. Mental stability is a problem for them. If they lose one game, they could slide out. So game #1 for them is going to be massive.
And the next match we have coming up is Team Envious and Team Dignitas. And I guess there's not so much to say about Team Envious. Clear favorite of the whole tournament, currently on a massive winning streak. Yeah,
I mean, the big thing, obviously, if anyone's watching, that's watched over the months, Dignitas was formerly known as Creation. They have been picked up recently by the organization, so congrats to them. But they are, as you say, up against Envious, by and far the #1 team in the world right now, on paper, on everything else. But
Here, live.
they are here live. This is the big thing. They've never played on LAN. Obviously, that's what you were talking about, Huck.
Yeah, and I think they're going to pull through. I mean, when you've won that much, it's almost like confidence just becomes overconfidence.
Yeah.
And sometimes that can be a bad thing, but at the same time, I feel like when you're Dignitas and you're looking at these guys, you're like, okay, we're a step below. Let's start focusing on the next match, but we'll see. I mean, anything can happen.
I mean, it might be a good thing to not be the favorite. It takes off a lot of pressure from you, because, you know, like, no one is really expecting you to win, so you got an open field there. We're going to take a look at Group B for you as well, as we do have some pretty good teams in that one too. And we're starting off with Reunited and Complexity. Reunited, definitely one of the top 3 teams, I would almost say.
I mean, obviously, Mitch had his article on the Rebel Esports, and obviously he was talking about these guys have played at Gamescom in various games across the years. They've been here, this is their 4th or 5th year, I think, at Gamescom. So these guys are very experienced LAN players. And more importantly, they're up against Complexity, who somewhat surprisingly qualified. A lot of people wouldn't have expected it. They would have expected to see energy here. They fell apart. Obviously, Complexity beating Team Liquid as well in the final qualifiers, convincingly over this and the Overwatch Open, actually. So 2 weeks running. So they're having a good run up to the tournament, but they are probably the biggest underdogs in this group.
Yeah, and Reunited, one of my personal picks to go very deep in this tournament, but you can't count Complexity out. This is a team that was beating Cloud9 just as recently as a month or two ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, and talking about Cloud9, they're going to face off against Rogue. So that's going to be
So this,
I mean,
this,
Cloud9 is a very strong team at the moment.
Probably the most interesting matchup, I would say, out of all the initial four. Cloud9 kind of dipped a little bit, I want to say, earlier on. It was when the meta switched and they kind of got off Widowmaker, but since then, they've been on the up and up, and I only really see them losing consistently to Envious. But on the other hand, Rogue, obviously being an extremely strong EU team, and honestly, these two teams haven't played a lot, and that's going to be very interesting because when you're not used to each other's styles, you're not used to the callouts, who did their homework? Who went through VODs? Who has the better coach? Those are things that are going to matter here.
Yeah, there's a couple of things with this game. Obviously, Rogue like to play often. They might throw things out. I'm talking to a lot of teams talking about scrims. Rogue have tried things, it's safe to say, out there. Cloud9, as you mentioned, obviously they had a struggle. They were 2-0 down against Fnatic and they were looking to lose it until they turned it around on Hollywood. And then they managed to do the reverse sweep and get 3-2. But they should have lost 3-0 in that game if it wasn't Fnatic's mistake. So, not unbeatable.
Yeah, but I gotta say, like, as you're saying, they tried things. I think that's really what you have to do in a tournament like that. Because if you're looking at the qualifier, I feel like the meta was, it was not, I don't want to use the word stale, but it was like very set.
Yeah.
And I don't think very many teams derived from it. So I really think like you have to go out with some kind of surprise, some kind of pocket strat if you want to beat the best.
Yeah, that's a great point, Zoe. And a lot of folks do stick with pretty similar strategies, but Rogue has been creative from the get-go, really. This team has always been trying new stuff. Who knows what we might see here in LAN? Maybe they have something up their sleeve. That said, I think Cloud9 is still definitely the favorite in this matchup.
The biggest thing I'm interested to see out of all these games is how much Europe's changed, because we used to see a lot of D.Va coming out of NA, but barely any in Europe. Anna was tried a fair amount of times. Now, teams have had, obviously, weeks to boot camp together, so we're probably going to see quite a few new things, I hope, in this tournament.
And this would be the chance to do it. I mean, going up to this, I feel like most of these teams figured they were going to qualify anyways, right?
Yeah.
So if you have something and you've been holding it, this would be the time. There's not really anything else for a while after this tournament. And this, so far, as you said, is the biggest tournament to date in Overwatch. So if they have something, now is the time to break it out. The question is, do you do it in groups, secure that spot, or do you wait until later, semifinals, finals?
Yeah.
Who knows?
All right, now we have so many great days ahead of us. 2 days filled with Overwatch action, and I couldn't be more happy about that. And as you just said as well, it is the biggest Overwatch tournament as of today. Who are your favorites? I mean, Envious, I think everyone will put on top, but if you would really have to make a top three, what do you think is the most realistic scenario?
Yeah, I mean, we both talked about it. Obviously, Reunited, Mitch has mentioned it as well. Reunited are, because of their LAN experience, probably one of the outsiders to reach the final, I would say. It's Envious, I think, are a shoe-in. But obviously, the biggest thing is they've got that Cloud9 hurdle in their group. And if Cloud9, it's really going to be interesting to see how Cloud9 look against Rogue. Reunited, and what I know of, have been practicing a lot with Fnatic. So we may even see Fnatic improving against Misfits. It's really, there's so many things out there, because all we've seen is obviously when NA and EU play each other, it's either we're on a European server or an NA server. But we don't have that problem anymore. We are here in Europe. Everybody's on the same server. This is going to be fantastic. I mean, even across the teams, obviously you've got Fnatic in game one. Well, they've got 2 European players in there, along with the 4 NA players. So it's really interesting to see how they're all going to handle being on the same ping. It's great.
Yeah, Lee, and you also bring up something. The NA and EU teams haven't even played in any tournaments at all recently, because we have had all of these qualifiers week after week after week for each region. We haven't even seen these teams play together in some months now.
Yeah, just the regionals was when we saw them really clash. Now that was the closest we've had.
So, top 3, I would say Envious, Cloud9, Reunited. Can we kind of agree
I think that's pretty fair.
that?
I think that's pretty fair. I mean, the thing is with Rogue, they used to be the #1 team, but they've had some shaky results. I mean, it's crazy that we're calling Dignitas these rank outsiders. Yeah, these are the team that beat Rogue 3-0 at the Alienware tournament just, what, a month ago.
Yeah,
so, but they've had such a dip in results.
Let's actually take a look. Let's actually take a look at how the teams got here, starting maybe with the 2 teams we're going to see playing first. Fnatic is the first team. We're going to take a quick look at how did they get here to Cologne.
Forming only last month, Fnatic is definitely one of the newer organizations on the block, but so far they've definitely done the name justice. This is a hybrid lineup featuring 2 Swedish players and 4 Americas residents. While they're still new and they're still working to solidify this sort of winning form, Fnatic took Cloud9 to the limit in the qualifying tournaments. It was a 5-map affair.
Yeah, kill for kill, back and forward as IDDQD and Buds get in, so both supports all being picked off at the moment, but Vonethil is still alive. He was the man that ironically got targeted first early on and finally gets pushed away. IDDQD gets onto Debit, chasing on his backside, and they will get dropped.
And they did lose, but dropping down to the lower bracket, they breezed past some big names already to make it to Gamescom. They're fresh, they're hungry, and they're dedicated, which to me is a deadly combo.
Yeah, and thank you a lot, Mitch, for summing that up for us. Anything else you guys want to add to it?
Yeah, I mean, we were talking about it just before we came on air, like how new effectively this team is. Obviously with IDDQ coming in, a big shock to everyone when he got kicked out of Rogue. A lot of people were very surprised that just after takeover after being such a brilliant player.
After winning.
He's an amazing player. Yeah,
After winning, like that's always what surprises people, right?
Yeah.
You winning a big thing, and then everyone's like, yeah, that team is great, and then they kick like a really good player. And
the biggest part is they got wins in AKM, the two brothers, and they wanted to be more on the damage role. So obviously, we never know what goes on in terms of team chemistry, etc. in the background. So clearly they felt he didn't fit. I mean, time will tell, I guess, in this tournament.
Yeah, I mean, this Fnatic team, it's interesting. If you actually go back into some of the earliest tournaments that we had in Overwatch, in the beta, Cool Matt and Stoop have been playing together for a very long time, and in fact, they were on one of the most successful rosters in the early phases of the beta. Now you've got guys like Vonethil, who's doing a lot of the shot calling for the team, IDDQD, who's an incredible McCree and an incredible Tracer, really rounding out the roster. You know, they're looking really good, and they're definitely on the upswing. Still, I can't help but feel they're somewhat of the underdog in this match.
I think it's going to be pretty hit and miss. I think if they get momentum, they will do really well. I was talking to their coach, Rolf Gator, Rob, who's actually a very interesting guy too, because he came from the same team that IDDQD did. So when IDDQD left, Rob left too, and that could be a success story for him. You know, was the coach an important part of that success, you know, going into that Home Story Cup tournament? Or was it more on the players? I think Rob is a great coach. He's a high-level player, and I think Fnatic actually are going to pull this one out.
All right. Well, Fnatic definitely a team to look out for, but they are going up against the top dog of Europe. So let's take a look at Misfits.
Appropriately named, the Misfits are a European mix of players that Flex player Crew and Hitscan Master Soon put together after failing to amass this all-star French lineup. And if you ask them, this has actually worked out a lot better. Springing onto the scene as Graviton Surge, they made waves at the first European LAN, taking third place, downing previous favourites Melty Esport Club. Since then, the Misfits have gone from strength to strength, moving TF2 veteran Zeverside to Lucio and bringing in Danish dynamo Zapre. Skipjack showcases extremely good positioning on tanks, and Nevix has more than once stood at the top of the competitive Overwatch world rankings. The first team to qualify for Gamescom, I think the Misfits still have a lot more to prove to us here, because when the pressure is on, they're going to have to keep cool heads collectively and individually and show us how much they've grown as a unit.
Yeah, and that is Misfits. You guys said, or at least you said, for you, they seem to be the favorite in that matchup. You actually said Fnatic could definitely pull that out. Damon, how are you thinking about that?
For me, it's Misfits. I mean, like as mentioned at the start, obviously for Fnatic, it's really all about the first game. They've got mental issues. When I say that, what I mean is
keep it like that. That sounds
mental
great.
Wow, Lee.
strength issues. You know, they collapsed against Cloud9. They had it in the bag, and then they absolutely collapsed, and they fell apart afterwards. I've spoke to, we were talking about obviously Roffelgetter, the coach, and he's already talked about this is something they've worked about in the boot camp. They did come over to London a week ago. They've been the Faceit studio has been boot camping there, so they've practiced heavily with Reunited. I'm interested to see whether that's actually stepped up. But the problem is they're against Misfits, a team that is really at the top of the game, it seems to be in Europe right now. Skipjack, Mitch mentioned it in the video there, is probably the best Reinhardt in Europe right now. Sure, he's going to be up against Stoop. I'm really interested to hear how some of these are going to work out. Soon in there is a brilliant McCree player as well. So they're really, it's going to be, there's so many head-to-heads in this game. I'm so excited to watch. I'm quite jealous of Mitch and Jason who are casting it.
Well, we get to watch it in its full glory too and talk about it right afterwards, so I can't wait for that. Now, like, all of their arguments really seem to like speak for Misfits.
Yeah.
Why exactly do you think the Fnatic could like win this? Or like, actually, you felt even more confident. You said they will, not could,
Yeah,
they will.
I mean, on paper, I agree 100%. Misfits, very strong team. They should win it. But I have faith. I think being...
Faith, is that what we're going for?
We look at Envious, right? They're the strongest team. They're also the only team that's been in a team house, right? Boot camping, things that go, you know, the extra mile, having a coach. I think all these are going to play a very important factor, especially because they're live. And I think that's going to pull it through. Fnatic's going to win, and I think they're actually going to do really well at this tournament, at least better than what they should. And that included is beating Misfits.
And it's very interesting you mentioned that, because obviously we talked about Fnatic going to London. Misfits didn't boot camp. They didn't get together because they... A, because Soon and Zebasai are still working, so they're working full-time jobs as well, so they're only practicing 5 hours a night. But B, they feel that actually boot camping together can cause more problems than it creates. It can obviously come against chemistry. Now, bearing in mind, Wins is Kenny S.'s brother, who is the coach of Misfits. Well, Envious CS team is very well known for having problems in boot camp. But Misfits, yeah, I mean, to come together, it's an interesting setup. We've seen teams across many esports doing this. Fnatic probably most famously, the CS team, they never used to boot camp. They used to sit at home because they're just comfy in their home environment, and then they just get together as a group of friends when they come to the event. And that's what Misfits are going to be trying at this event.
Well, we're going to see if it is working out for them or not. But first, we're going to actually talk to the players. And for that, we have the lovely Rachel on stage for you.
Thank you so much to our excellent analyst desk, but now it's time to get things underway here on the stage. So please join me in welcoming our first team, Fnatic. Now, IDDQD, that's quite a lineup you've got there. We've seen you play on a couple different teams now in the short history of competitive Overwatch. What should we know about your current lineup, especially going into this matchup against Misfits?
I think we have a better synergy than I've ever had in any lineup before. I think we play a very aggressive game, and I think we're going to catch Misfits off guard today.
All right, we shall see. You can take a seat, and good luck to you guys on Fnatic. Now, let's welcome their opponents to the stage, Misfits. Now, this matchup is going to be one of the hardest to predict of our first round matchups this tournament. How do you think it's going to go and why?
I actually have no idea. We never played Fnatic before in this setup, so I cannot say.
Is your team feeling confident though?
Yes, of course.
All right, we'll see how this plays out for you guys. Ladies and gentlemen, our first match of the day, Fnatic versus Misfits. I'm going to hand it back over to our analyst desk.
Thank you so much, Rachel. Now, as he said, he has no idea how it's going. They're gonna go. They must be feeling confident, though. To be like the top in the EU, maybe you just try to be humble. I don't know. What are you guys thinking?
I mean, obviously it's game one of the day. Everybody wants to be like, we'll just like keep our cards close to our chest here and stuff. The biggest part for me is the map. We're going into the first map. It is a pre-selected map, so it's going to be King's Road to begin with for the first games. And this, for me, is a problem because obviously Misfits had struggles on this against Reunited in qualifying in the final game. They only posted distance in the end. Of course, Reunited, very good team. However, Fnatic also have had problems recently, but not so much on King's Row. They've actually posted some pretty damn quick times on King's Row. So this is where we're going back to Huck's point, where we're talking about, and what I've talked about a lot, is the first map is vital for Fnatic. If they were to lose it in some horrible sort of style, mental strength could just go straight from them, and they could see a quick 2-0. But if they pick up the first map, suddenly we're going to see a real game in our hands.
What map you think they would choose if they were to lose it? Because the loser is choosing the second map. So what do you think we're going to see then if either or is taking it?
Oh, I mean, that's the thing. Do they stick with payload hybrid? Do they go with King? Do they go King of the Hill? Do they just throw? I mean, we don't know. These guys might have been practicing capture point like crazy. I actually expect to see Complexity pulling out some Hanamura later on, but we'll get to that. But I really don't know which way they can go. I mean, I guess it's King's Road is the first payload map, hybrid map. So if they do bad on that, we might see King of the Hill map come out.
I think if you're the stronger mechanical team, like just pure aiming, shooting, killing, you want to play King of the Hill. It's not as in-depth. There's not so much positioning. There's not so much, deep strategical, team play. It's just, can you kill things? Can you stay together? Great, let's play King of the Hill. So I think if Misfits lose this first match, they're going to go for something King of the Hill, or at least they would prefer that. It comes down to, the bans and picks, which is getting, interestingly, very complicated as Overwatch develops over time. It's starting to be the case, as Damon said, that teams are starting to practice those more unusual maps, just so they have, something in their back pocket where they can say, you know what, they're not expecting Hanamura, and they just pick it, and they have this very wonky maze strategy or something weird like that.
Which we've seen a few of. But both teams are very good King of the Hill teams. So that's, I'm actually pretty excited if it goes that. I think it's Lijiang Tower in Nepal. It's in the map pool in the group stage. So we could be seeing them come out, Ben.
I'm actually really interested. I think Fnatic's Buds has a lot on his shoulders in this tournament because I actually had a chance to stop in during the boot camp in London, and there was a bit of a discussion going on there. What kind of DPS character he's going to end up choosing? Will it be Genji? Will it be Reaper? Where we see him maybe flex onto Tracer or anything like that? I think that's going to be really important here on King's Row, a map where a lot of teams have been favoring Reaper more often, I would say.
Something we didn't mention, actually, is Fnatic's manager is Drunks, who's also actually formerly of the Reunited guys, the Reunited team. He used to be on that team. Obviously, he never came into Overwatch with them, but he's a former team member, the manager of them. So lots of LAN experience, so essentially at Gamescom as well. So he's going to settle their nerves and tell them exactly what they're expecting. So they've come into this fully prepared, I think, Fnatic.
That sounds fantastic.
I think that's a big reason why a lot of the players that were interviewed are trying to stay calm. Going into this, from a pro player's perspective, especially because it's the first match, you don't want to get your adrenaline all pumped up on that first match. You're going to be tired. I mean, we got a long day here. It's something we didn't mention, but these guys have to play a few games. They got to be here for hours, and you got to try to focus, stay calm. And I think that's where the managers come in and they say, you know what, you guys got this. Just stay confident, stay positive. It's almost like you're playing solo queue. Those same attributes. You just want everything to feel comfortable and fine.
How much of an advantage do you guys think it is for a team to actually have a manager or a coach here as well on site who not only keeps their nerves at a cool level, but also maybe gives them some insight or analysis after the games? Do you think that's a interesting thing?
I think that's very important. I think even just from the manager side, not even so much coach, it's like it's a security blanket. You need anything, you got a guy, you can say, hey, I need Advil, I have a headache, I need water because I'm thirsty, And
guys,
anything.
Huck knows.
Yeah.
He was a former pro gamer.
Yeah.
Still pro gamer.
And having that security blanket there, you just feel very secure, and someone's always got your back, everything's going to be okay. Mommy's there. That's the manager.
There. That's great.
Yeah. We're yet to really see. I mean, of course, this is the very first LAN tournament. We're here in person for the first time, North America versus Europe. I'm so excited for this match.
Something we figured out from our prep, actually, that you did, Ben, and Rachel. I should pull that in there. Crew actually mentioned that he normally plays with 10% volume and likes it really quiet.
Really?
Well, he's at Gamescom.
That's a problem.
That's not going to fly here.
It is
but
not quiet.
maybe. I mean, obviously at home you don't really have a massive crowd next to your PC cheering for you.
It's not even just that.
Might be distracting, but here maybe it's like this energy coming back. I mean, Hawk probably knows, if you feel the energy of the crowd, I think that could potentially also help your game.
I love how we keep throwing to me about this. All right, so
hey man, you're the one that
get ready to it. For it.
What it is for the most part is you just want to mimic whatever situation you have at home. So you want to copy exactly the seat height, where the mouse is, how long the cord is, where the keyboard's positioned. These are all very important things. Settings, everything. If these guys aren't experienced, when I went to my first event, live, I lost to Artosis. Do you know how sad that is?
The call out. out.
And that can happen to these guys. And it's a team game, so it won't be as noticeable. But yeah, they need to do their homework. And that's why I'm confident in Fnatic. You know, they had to go from home to boot camp. That's a situation. You're uncomfortable. You're not used to everything. Maybe the chairs are different heights. The temperature's different. All these things make them prepared coming into this event. Where on the other hand, Misfits, you know, they've been at home. They've been playing with the same setup for weeks, months, maybe years.
Okay.
And it should talk about the configs as well. I mean, obviously, you can have a separate config per hero, so it's a real big thing. A lot of things to set up for the players coming into this one. Some of them the first LAN for Overwatch.
All right, well, the game is about to start. I couldn't be more excited, and I hope that goes for everyone watching. Game number 1, Fnatic going up against Misfits. And for that and for all the action, we have Jason and Mitch for you.
Thank you very much, Zoe, and everyone on the desk, and welcome to everyone here to the Overwatch Atlantic Showdown. Jason Kaplan, game 1 is going to be a cracker. What a way to start things off here.
It's probably the best game we could hope for to kick off the entire tournament. Misfits Fnatic, it's going to be a bloodbath. I'm almost certain it's going to be going the entire set of 3 maps.
Yeah, definitely. No doubt about it. I mean, you've got a team who currently stands technically at the top of the EU standings, another team who is already working on a pedigree of perfection in terms of their match results, getting to the top of NA. But that's not what it's about here, Jason. It's about getting across the Atlantic at one another and settling those rivalries, some of which have been going for quite some time. I mean, IDDQD, for example, he knows what it's like to go up against Misfits, or at least most of them.
And I think one thing we should kind of point out, and the desk hinted on a little bit, is the prep coming into this. Because if you look at Misfits, well, they initially qualified for this first through the actual initial qualifier, then through the regionals. They qualified through. Then they qualified through the Overwatch Open immediately. This is a team that hasn't necessarily needed to play these last few weeks. So they've been maybe a little bit rusty. They haven't even necessarily boot camp because of some work commitments. I'm a little bit worried, to be honest, for Misfits. But then again, they're #1 in Europe here for a reason.
Yeah, I mean, you bring up a good point. If you go back and actually have a look at the past games of Misfits, there are none. They didn't have to play, and as rightfully so, they just haven't. There were a few online tournaments that they could have got involved in as well, but like you said, they actually opted not to boot camp because sometimes being stuck in that room with each other over a long period of time can be quite fraying on the nerves, perhaps, and they decided that we'd rather sort of do this from home. Again, you know, you have to wonder how that affects how sharp they're going to be coming into this here as well. I think Wins, their coach, obviously, as Lee pointed out, was Kenny S's brother here, comes in more of a psychology perspective than an actual hardcore gameplay perspective. He's not giving the strats out. He's more working on the welfare and the well-being of the players themselves. So this is something that's sort of been cleared through him as well. He feels like it's better for the team himself. So we have to see if it really is that way.
And then you have to compare that to Alpha Gator, who's had experience actually playing at the Agents Rise in the first North America LAN, which kicked off days after the game even was released. He's played them. He even coached Rogue a little bit as well. So he's actually a really different kind of style for him. He's going to be more of an in-depth strategic kind of player for their team.
Yeah, I mean, Fnatic as well, being so recently formed, actually come along with a lot of very strong support stuff as well. They talked about Drunks up on the desk, who has a very long-standing pedigree of performances in top esports events. He knows exactly how it goes down. So they definitely have the right people behind them. Obviously, they've got a good mix of people on their team. I spoke about it briefly in their little intro video. It's that hybrid mix. You've got 2 Swedes that come into the lineup. You've got an Aussie bloke as well in the mix there in Custis. So
you're always going to bring that up. You always love the Aussies.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Well, I mean, we'll have to see if it's going to be enough to deal with EU players. But the interesting part is he wasn't scouted from an Australian team. He played TF2 in Australia, then moved to Canada, then got picked up from there playing Overwatch. He was never actually strong in the Australian TF2 scene necessarily. But, I mean, he brings a heck of a lot of a cool head to this team. I almost liken him to Cruz on Reunited here because he comes in with a lot of aggression as well. He does generally get a little bit passionate about the game, the hot-headed things. That is a bit of an Aussie trait, if I'm honest with you, here as well. But then you've got guys like IDDQD who will just shut down when they sort of get into a bit of a negative mindset. So you kind of want somewhere in between there, I feel.
At the same time, though, for IDDQD, he might, kind of shut down, but he's also a really huge player for the team. And he's going to be need to be that big player for his team, especially against Misfits. Because we kind of talked about like a head-to-head, a personal head-to-head between these two teams, and it kind of stuck out as Crew and IDDQD. Originally, we looked at the 2 McCree players with Soon and him, but it didn't really necessarily fit because Crew. I mean, if we talk about the story of Misfits, this was a team originally created because he didn't want to play Flex. He didn't want to play Zarya every game when he was in Melty.
Well, no, actually, in Melty, he had to play Lucio.
Okay, even
and he said,
worse.
if I ever have to play Lucio again, I'm going to lose it. I've got incredible aim, I've got incredible game sense, hits, but I don't feel like I can impact the fight as much as Lucio. Now, to be fair, I think Lucio's speed boost is the strongest move in the game, and it really does influence these fights, but he wanted to shoot some things.
Exactly, and then the thing is, when we saw him playing at TakeOver, when he had the Graviton Surge at the time, he played Genji a lot, and it kind of didn't necessarily work out for them. They didn't have the best placing overall on that one. They did beat Melty, though, so it was a good big win for Crew there. And then he played more of a laid-back role, more of a flex position, now sitting on Zarya for the team, letting Soon and Zapri be the big damage dealers for the team to do what they need to do to win, and that's really important to see, because you're going to have these big aimers playing Lucio that want to play DPS, but you have to realize it's a team game. You're not going to win it by yourself. You have to be a team player, and sitting back and playing that kind of role, which he does an outstanding job on Zarya anyways, is really impactful in how they've been able to perform so well.
Yeah, that's right. We talk about the importance of having that Lucio player on your team. If you make a mistake on that hero, you could be in big trouble. I want to call it back to wins back at the TakeOver LAN, the first LAN we had here in Germany, actually. He was playing Lucio. He's got probably more Quake titles than I've ever had girlfriends, but he was sitting there with his keyboard up on his knees playing Lucio just to illustrate perhaps how easy it was for him to do that. And then, last fight, on King's Row, he goes in and he ults while his team's in spawn. He accidentally hits the Q key, or whatever his ult key was, and he threw the game, essentially, for the team, because they needed that sound barrier for the next fight, and they didn't have it.
It happens to the best of us sometimes. I remember during the qualifiers when you guys were casting, you and Demon, Fnatic, and Cool Matt kind of hit his Graviton Surge a couple times on accident because he was alt-tabbing in and out of the game. Hopefully it doesn't happen for him here, but also the map. We should maybe talk a little bit about King's Row since it's our initial match, our initial map of this match. It's going to be an interesting one. I think we can both safely say that both teams will probably get the payload to the finish line. It's just about how quickly they do it, since we are running stopwatch and we are running the competitive mode in the client without the coin flip mechanic. It's based off time and it's based off distance. The first point can be really tricky for some teams, I feel like, and it comes down to how you want to initially attack that first point. Because as they're sitting on the desk, you see a lot of Reaper on this map in the beginning because he's so impactful in this close quarter combat. And if you take that hotel side and you push through, we've seen a lot of teams make a mistake of splitting up. So the defending team will put 3 people in the back to actually watch the hotel. They get split off from the rest of their team and they get overwhelmed really quickly, though. I don't think Fnatic's going to be a team to do that. I think they're going to sit a little bit more tight and tucked in on the point. Yeah,
and I think for Misfits as well, if you want to call recent results into question on King's Row, I think Lee highlighted it quite nicely on the desk, actually. Their last outing against Reunited on King's Row, they weren't able to finish the whole map. So for them, a bit of a sticking point. And of course, there's been a couple of weeks since then, Jason, so they probably had time to work on it. But Fnatic are going to be possibly even more, I guess, ruthless than Reunited were to them in this case. They're out for blood. I spoke to IDDQD. He said, I played these guys at LAN. We 3-0'd them. It was pretty straightforward, and I'm looking to do it again here.
And speaking of map stats, actually, because I wanted to point that out, we worked on this big database together. Actually, Fnatic, they're 8 map wins out of 11 maps, or 11 times played on this map against the top teams. Have a really good score on this one, where Misfits, they're actually 8-17. So 8 wins after playing the map 17 times against the top teams. It's not looking necessarily too good for Misfits, but then again, I feel like they just become even more powerful as time's gone on. Back on their Graviton Surge, they were...
Well, they Saiyans, are they?
A little bit. No? They were a little bit lackluster at TakeOver at that tournament, but they've been getting better. My question is, though, how they perform with not really having too much prep, too much time to actually buckle down and get things going. I think they're one of the few teams, one of the few professional teams who still have people working as a full-time job.
Yeah, and I think the thing is, when you get into a good rhythm, playing online, for example, okay, that's fairly easy to keep going, to propagate this as a team, right? Because you get home, you get to your computer, you sit down, you play. But, of course, these guys, with their daily routines, it all worked out for them. But now they're here, and I honestly think that their biggest enemy for Misfits at this LAN will be Misfits. It's not going to be Envious, it's not going to be Cloud9, it's going to be themselves. The man on your screen right now is Crew. I guess one of the 4 founding members of this team, a very peculiar player. I think that's what Too Good called him at the TakeOver. I tend to agree with that as well. Very peculiar. He plays probably the widest range of impactful heroes than any other player at this event. But sometimes inconsistent is his problem, right? Sometimes he's a little bit here or there, and not on fire when his team sort of needs him to be, especially once he starts to get behind as well. The mental factor for him, he can get upset. He's very vocal on social media as well about his escapades through Overwatch as a game itself. And we've seen him also sort of do that to his teammates as well. So they've got to keep their nerves and they've got to keep it together. And even we have to mention a special player on the team, Nevix, who's actually their support player, their Lucio player. He's not the Lucio, he's actually be playing Zen for them this time. But he's
been #1 on the leaderboards in Europe for a good period of time. He was like ranked 91 when people were still like in the very low 90s and even high 80s. He can play at the top level, and he's playing Zen for them, which, as we know, with the change to him, with the Discord Orb getting a little bit more damage, or still sit at 50%, sorry. He has more HP now. He's insane. He does so much more work, and you have to kind of worry about him. If you're going to be in a 1v1 against a support, typically be like, yeah, this is easy, but Nevix can easily take that into a win for them.
And like many highly ranked players, Nevix's most played hero on ranked is actually Genji, right? And I like this because if you play Zenyatta, you actually need, to a degree, a similar mindset. Not about going into the back line and getting assassinations, but knowing when you've bitten off more than you could chew, knowing when you need to get out of a fight, for example. Zenyatta, a lot of his health, or the most part of his health resource, is shield. And it does regenerate after a short period of time and being out of combat. So a good Zenyatta player knows how deep he can delve into a fight, throw some orbs around, and then back off, regenerate that shield, and rinse and repeat.
So I'm actually wondering if we're going to see any of the new hero that's been released, Ana, because she's a really good counter to the current meta of a Zenyatta. That Transcendence, the 300 healing per second being buffed up from 200 is insane. And what Ana does is you throw in your biotic grenade, your E, and you completely stop, or sorry, your shift, you stop all the healing that's going to come in. And it makes it impossible to heal through, because it's just physically cannot heal during that period of time. So a Graviton Surge is usually countered by Transcendence, and you counter that Transcendence with a Biotic Grenade, and then you completely wipe the team. Even just the passive healing out of Lucio won't be able to do anything for you. And I wonder if we're going to see a lot more of her. We did see NRG in the qualifiers quite a bit, playing her with Enigma. She's kind of had a fall off from there. We haven't seen too much necessarily, but I'm hoping to see a little bit of it, because she actually is really strong, just has a high ceiling to actually hit.
And the thing is as well, in terms of support heroes and what they can sort of bring in a lot of these fights, a lot of them are able to cause extra damage to be done, right? Mercy can give a damage boost, and Yatta, of course, has the Orb of Discord, which causes the target to take more damage. Ana is the only hero in the game right now who can directly stifle or shut down any healing attempts. And right now, with things like Lucio being such a mainstay in your team, pretty much constantly giving the AoE healing aura, to shut it down with a Biotic Grenade, like you pointed out, is actually massive. And again, Zenyatta can't heal his team either. So many teams rely on Zenyatta's Transcendence as a panic button when they get womboed out. So if you're getting sucked into a Graviton Surge, or there's a barrage, or for example, the enemy Genji pulls out his Dragon Blade, quite often your Zenyatta will be straying towards using his ultimate pretty much instantly. And to counter that with an antibiotic grenade is incredibly devastating for the team that deals with it, because you pretty much throw that Transcendence in the bin, be done with it, you're also going to lose the fight pretty much 100%. The problem is that Ana, in herself, is really immobile. It's hard to get her into position to influence those fights when she can only sort of get around on 2 feet. She doesn't have any sort of jumps, any sort of dashes. That's her biggest weakness by far.
And we should also kind of mention, and this was 100% pointed out on the desk, was the difference between Zarya and D.Va being played in NA versus EU. EU favors Zarya quite a bit more, where NA favors D.Va. And the big difference between those two heroes is obviously the defense matrix out of D.Va is insanely strong at blocking Graviton Surge, blocking basically everything you can throw at it. But Zarya is like the complete counter to D.Va, because you can't be stopped by the beam at all. You can desuit her extremely quickly by a Discord Orb, which is still not affected by the defense matrix. So I'm wondering if we're going to see a little bit of a battle of that. And in turn, are we going to see adaptations? We know a lot of teams actually participating here at this event, and specifically Reunited. I hate to call them out, but we've seen it even back in the Battlefield 4 days when they were playing together. They're slow to adapt. And at this situation, if you see something wonky thrown at you like a Mei, which we've seen Coolmat do on capture point maps, you have to adapt extremely quickly, because there's a lot of money on the line here.
And actually, to be fair, the failure to adapt quickly enough is one of the biggest downfalls of most teams, not only in the casual sense of Overwatch, but also in competitive here. I also think Reunited as well can be quite stubborn, and maybe bordering on cocky on some occasions as well, especially the hubris that they brought with them, being champions in Battlefield 4, having so many titles in that one, going back to Titanfall, and you've got Valutaja and Winghaven, who are incredibly good, quick enemy territory players.
And even Mort tweeted out before the event, this is my 6th time to Gamescom, and I've won every time. And he's here to make it number 6. And that's honestly really tough to do, especially against the caliber of teams that they're up against. Much different back in the days than they were playing. But again, it's a team game. They've got 2 new people to the lineup, and particularly, Kib as well, the newest addition to the team, the first actual player ever picked up from the ranked ladder, joining a professional organization. There's a lot on his shoulders if he can perform at that kind of level.
Yeah, I love this. I love this idea of there being a leaderboard in Overwatch and all the top players actually having themselves registered on there, and teams going, well, okay, we all came across from TF2, Battlefield, all these other games.
Yep.
But we're going to find someone who is homegrown, grassroots, bred in Overwatch and bring him along into this team. And it adds quite an interesting factor as well, because you don't have these players that have, I don't know, prejudices or stubbornness or hubris or overconfidence from other games. Someone coming in fresh, he's hungry, he wants to learn, he also wants to impress. That makes a huge impact on, I guess, on the way the player goes through. And for Reunited, it also can be quite much easier to deal with him. It's not another
breath of fresh air for them.
Absolutely. It's not a big personality coming in with an ego. It's just someone who wants to learn and wants to improve. So for them, very easy to mold a player like Kib into a future champion.
And we have to kind of also take a look at, I guess, Fnatic's lineup a little bit. Yeah, they've been playing for quite a long time. A couple of them even longer than the actual entire team together back in Team Hubris. But Vonethil, we have to kind of mention him. He originally was going to be joining Team Liquid. Like, he had a spot, he was playing with them.
He had a shirt.
Yeah, he was on the team technically. He didn't sign the contract, though. Yeah. And he decided, you know what? I don't want to play on the team. I found I had a better offer. He believes in this team, and he's been a really integral part in the fact of being able to win these games. It's really important to have a strong caller, a really smart Lucio player. I mean, you have to know when to speed boost versus healing boost into a fight and to really kind of choose the fight for your team to call out, hey, we want to attack now kind of thing. And he's a really big cornerstone for the team to be able to perform. If he can pull off that kind of performance here at LAN, then I think Fnatic can be looking really good.
And Vonethil himself has a really interesting background as a player. He actually started off as a very high-ranked Guild Wars 2 player. So starting off in an MMO background,
yeah.
Exactly. Then he obviously moved over towards Heroes of the Storm. Was a MOBA player as well. There are quite a few players that have backgrounds in World of Warcraft and other MMOs as well coming in here. It's a different skill set. Obviously, if you have played Warcraft, you don't have to be the super strong aimer, as it were, but your communication, your tactics. This is one reason why NIP, sadly, they're not here, but they have a very strong tactical base because so many of them come from Paragon, which is a World of Warcraft, one of the biggest World of Warcraft guilds in Europe.
Yeah, that's actually a really good point, too, because you look at World of Warcraft and aiming isn't really reliant. I don't even think there's any...
No.
I'm trying to remember if there's skill shots in it. It's been a long time since I played, but the synergy is important. And being able to realize when cooldowns are up, and even more important than that is knowing when ultimates are ready, or knowing how close your opponent is to having an ultimate. Because if you have your Graviton Surge or whatever it is 5-10 seconds earlier on, and you force the fight, then that's a huge amount of progress that can build you up. And since we're on stopwatch, since time does matter, you want to be able to win as quick as you can.
And the best part is as well about how different regions are picking up this game. You talked about the differences of Xayah and D.Va usage between EU and NA, is that the Korean scene is rising up right now at the moment as well. And speaking to some of their players, they say, we actually treat this game more like a MOBA than an FPS.
Yep.
So we don't come in here to go for the flashy stuff, for the trick shots. We come in here, we look at our abilities, we look at how we can combine them as usefully as possible, and we look about having good timings. So, of course, aim is important in this game, but for them, it's interesting how they prioritize other factors. But if you guys are watching here as well and on stream, expect to see teams that put a lot of emphasis on their offense players, on their DPS dealers as well. I mean, in this match, we've got an excellent head-to-head between Crew and IDDQD as two players who have flexed through damage rolls. IDDQD is going to play McCree and Tracer mostly. But that is something I guess we could look into a little bit more, because amongst these teams, you've got Zapray, who's very, very new to the scene. He's from Denmark himself. Soon, who played initially with Crew right at the start when they wanted to make this French super team like I talked about in the intro.
Right.
And Soon was actually a Lucio main. He was a Mercy Lucio main, and Crew said, let's build a team, but why don't you become a damage dealer? Why don't you become a DPS player? You have the opportunity now as we build this team to maybe move into that role a little bit more. And now he's one of the sickest hit scan players in Europe, hands down.
Yeah, it's kind of rough. Is that I look at both teams, and I have IDQD as like the man to watch for Fnatic, but I feel like I give him too much credit because it's really hard to play around a good McCree. Like, this is a McCree player who, back when Fan of the Hammer was the staple of how to play McCree, he would still left click. He was one of the few actual players who depended on a left click McCree. And the amount of damage he does now with the changes to his distance and the damage fell off makes him so hard to play around. So Zapray and Soon are going to have such a tough time. Even as Reaper, you're going to have an extremely tough time if you get hit by a flashbang and popped in the head twice.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, but now with Reaper having obviously 250 health, so a little bit more health than the other offense classes, it's actually better to fan the hammer as McCree still, because they've now, I guess, buffed fan the hammer a little bit more after they nerfed it quite heavily. So up against a Reaper as a McCree, you still want to fan the hammer at close range. However, if it's a Tracer or something with about 200 or less health, then you want a double headshot up there as well. So keep an eye out for those little things, those little nuances between these offense players, because that's really going to set them apart from the pack when it comes to, these McCree duels or these Reaper battles or these Genji sword fights.
And we haven't really talked about Buds for Fnatic. He's basically like their Genji player. I feel like there's a lot of pressure on him in particular, because Genji is so important in the current meta of the way you play him. Using that Dragon Blade to pick up kills, to force Zen ultimates. He's going to have a tough time if Crew does flex over to that kind of role, if they want to do Genji v Genji. And he still has Soon to worry about on the McCree to kind of avoid and kind of, obviously play around and dance around. It's going to be tough for both the teams, and hopefully we get this game started soon.
Yeah, that's right. Still, by the looks of things, ladies and gents, a couple minutes away from getting this one started. A few things being ironed out on the stage, but it wouldn't be Gamescom without those. So, in lieu of that, we're going to go to a quick break, and hopefully when we return, these guys will be ready to start us off with the first game. Don't go too far. Yes, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Overwatch Atlantic Showdown. It is time, or more thereabouts at least, to jump into our first map of the weekend. Kings Row, of course, on your screen. Fnatic in the blue, Misfits over on the red corner here. And that is Cool Matt there as well, living up to his name to a degree here as well. We'll see, though, how that changes as the game goes on. Hey, confident Fnatic. IDDQD said, I've been here before, I've played against these boys before, Jason, and I'm feeling good.
And he 3-0'd him before at the takeover land. Let's see if they can do it again, or will Misfits fight back strong? Looks like it will be on the defense, Fnatic. On the attack, it will be Misfits.
That's it. So, most of the USA team, it is Kings Row, ladies and gentlemen. We can head on in and talk a little bit about the defensive setup here. Make some noise, Gamescom, for game one.
All right, so the defensive setup for Fnatic. We are seeing Buds on Reaper. So I want to know his position in particular. Is he going to try to cut off with Cool Matt that hotel towards the left-hand side of your screen, or are they going to let them take that background? We do see Misfits going to be locking in their roster, it seems, and Nevix. I mean, he technically could be staying on Widowmaker. That's not actually something that's too scoffed at. He could go for an early pick or two, but of course he will switch last second over to Anna.
Oh, they're going to go with the Anna to start off here. We did say we might see a little bit more of her in the coming weeks as teams got more used to it now as well. It will be Fnatic. We'll wait on this first push here, and again, first order of business, take that Reinhardt shield down.
Yeah, you can see soon towards the backside trying to span away on that one with that golden gun. And Skipjack will be using his own shield to actually penetrate this defense. They're not coming around the hotel. They're actually not going for any high ground alone. They're just looking for the battle. There's a charge immediately. Stu picks up the kill to Skipjack.
And Skipjack going to fall early on, but soon still has some safe position here as well to get some damage done. But he's being outdone by IDDQD so far. Zerberso falls in that first fight. Soon hoping to go in and get a little bit of damage, but he falls so low. The Zarya right-click comes in and takes him down to 30. He's got to back up.
Yeah, but look at this, Nevix. He already has that nano boost available. That's going to be so impactful, especially if you pop that on a Skipjack. You speed boost him in. It's going to be hard for anyone to really challenge out on this one. You see Fnatic already backing away. The Graviton Surge is already being used immediately.
Zapray's caught, but he can shadow walk out of this one. Still 3 kills coming out for Fnatic. Skipjack now gets the nano boost as well. Charged into the wall, but he can still keep fighting. The damage reduction is good, but not good enough. Stoop takes him down, and Fnatic hold on this first point.
So Fnatic, they end up running away from the nano boosted Reinhardt. And to counter that, all they did was just charge him into a wall.
Yep.
Make him do absolutely nothing in the fight, clean up the rest of the team in the meantime. And now we have to take stock of ultimates. We have Stoop with an Earth Shatter available, which can pretty much win the fight flat out if Misfits aren't careful. And Skipjack, pretty much one of the best Reinhardts in Europe, needs to keep that shield up and needs to make sure his team doesn't get caught out. There's going to be the die coming out of Bud, charges in immediately picking up 2. And Fnatic with ult advantage, most likely going to take this fight.
So I like this from Fnatic now as well. They're making use of that Lucio to speed into the attacking team. Before the attackers can set up, Fnatic were on top of them with the Death Blossom and forced Misfits to back away again.
But they only invested 1 ultimate into that. That was just the Death Blossom out of Buds. They still have the Transcendence now, they have the Earth Shatter, they have the Deadeye out of IDDQD, and this is going to be really hard to penetrate. You need Skipjack. He needs to hit a good Earth Shatter here.
He's going to have it as well, but now the Deadeye's going to come out from Soon and IDDQD at the same time. IDDQD had a Zarya shield, so he couldn't get taken down, but Soon also managed to survive. Transcendence coming in over the top now, and Buds is in the mix. It's going to be a Death Blossom coming out here, but it's not going to be enough. Sapper gets taken down. IDDQD with 2, and this is looking pretty good for Fnatic so far. He gets 4. It's all about IDDQD here, waking up and showing everyone the roses. It's Misfits who will again have to regroup for this point.
And Crew uses Graviton Surge at the end of the fight when he already lost 3 people. It's a little bit questionable, but it's going to cost him quite a bit. He's going to still stick to the Zarya, but with only a minute and a half left to go here, Mitch, this is where things get really dicey. We need to see Misfits somehow penetrate this one, and they have, like you said, no ultimates available. Kumat's going to have his Graviton Surge. He's going to pull them all neatly together, but no kills really coming off this so far.
No, now Kumat does fall down there as well. We saw Fan the Hammer come out, but IDQD gets himself 2 more. Stoop takes down Skipjack and Custer. Even Custer has the freedom to sit in the back lines and take down Misfits with orbs from long range. He's not being pressured heavily enough. Misfits aren't able to focus him down. And like we said, Misfits struggled against Reunited the last time they went head-to-head on this map. It's not a good sign. It's not a good omen coming in, and Fnatic look unbreakable so far.
And I like what Vonethil did, actually. He went back to make sure Buds could rejoin the team in time, just to speed him up, just to taxi him back to the front line, because they need him. And with 50 seconds left to go, with ultimates still coming back up again, this could be deadly. You can see Buds, who's trying to position himself for the speed boost in, and that's going to be some ultimates coming down. Skipjack trying to lead the way with the charge, takes the shield down, but there's no really follow-up so far.
Shield blocked the Earth Shatter coming out here from Fnatic, so he messed up a little bit there for Stoop. He's trying to make up for it now by charging on him, but he's going to get taken down if he's not careful. There comes the Earth Shatter from Skipjack, but he's taken down. It's a Death Blossom from Buds. He's picked up by Nevix in response. It's an orb to the head, but Cool Matt is still holding strong. He comes through, and with Custer's help, it's Nevix falling yet again. Last chance saloon for Misfits to take this first point.
This is going to have to be an extended fight, too. All they have is a sound barrier. Crew is getting dangerously close to his Graviton Surge, and they do have the Death Blossom coming up soon, and Custa has no Transcendence. So if they can combo this correctly, if they can stay alive long enough, this could be Misfits taking the fight finally.
Sound barrier comes in, but Stoop's going to try and back up as quickly as he can. You can see the shield going into the backline there on towards Custa, just to keep him alive, get some damage done. Fnatic actually giving up a little bit of ground on this point. They're allowing Misfits to walk in for now. That may not last forever now, as well as Fnatic have taken too much damage to continue like this. It's going to be the Graviton Surge coming in, and yes, it looks like Misfits can break them through. Zebo gets on towards Custa, Buds falls to Zapre, and finally, Misfits take the first points.
It took them a hell of a long time, though, to actually pull that one off, and they have to be really careful now. With only 3 minutes to work through in this Death Alley, it's not going to be easy. But you saw, Custa, he was actually on the high ground behind Misfits, attacking away and trying to do as much damage as possible. They were split a little bit, but they were also at an ult disadvantage. So they should have known ahead of time. That's why we saw them so spread out. To respect Crew, respect that Graviton Surge and not get caught out by it, but it just came down to Crew keeping his composure. Use the ultimate at the right time to actually catch them, pick up the kills they need, and finally capture that first point.
And Fnatic gave so much ground as well, but they also were taking a lot of damage, so it wasn't really working out. The Deadeye's going to come in from IDDQD here, but he backs away as he uses it here. So it's an attempt to try and zone Misfits back that doesn't really work out too well. Coolmat as well is going to be involved in this zoning process now with that Graviton Surge coming out, but he needs to hold it until there's a chance to get to the shield of Skipjack. There it comes.
Oh, Stoop, he's going around the backside too for an Ursha. He's going to lay it down across the team, but the Transcendence will be there, but they still pick up soon in the midst of this somehow. There's the Death Blossom coming through as well, but Crew's able to respond finally back on a Coolmat. Even Zebaside chimes in, getting a kill onto his counterpart, and it looks like Misfits have been able to take this fight and bypass this second checkpoint.
We've seen this happen so many times where teams are held on this first point for what seems like an eternity, and then they breeze through the streets phase like they've done here. And now the Foundry, this is their last test. Now, so far, Jason, it's not exactly been a fantastic time for Misfits.
No, not at all.
So much in the first point, but a smooth transition through this last phase will give them a decent time, at least when they have to go on defense.
So now we have to look at how Misfits plan about going with this attack. They have Zapper on the high ground actually behind the team. Problem for him is, though, he does not have a Death Blossom available. But that's going to be a Graviton Surge coming through, and the Transcendence out of Custa's force. They don't need to commit anything else to this, and the charge is going to come in as Skipjack, almost knocking them completely off the point.
Yeah, but Coolmat getting healed up by the Transcendence the whole time. He's able to stay alive. Soon picks apart Stoop from the backline now. Deadeye comes out from IDDQD, just the one, but that may be enough. It's going to be the opposite McCree to fall. Coolmat picks up Crew and Vonnefield now, just trying to keep his team healthy. So far, so good. It seems to have worked out. Zapper gets booted back across the payload, and now you can see Nevix having just to back away. The Zenyatta has no friends and won't have life for much longer if he remains.
And you can see Misfits are just fighting up a very steep hill there. There's no way you can take this final point if you lose 1 or 2 people on the initial attack. You're going to need your entire team there, but luckily for them, they still have 2 minutes and 50 seconds, and they have a big combo here. Zapre almost has Death Blossom for the backside. Deadeye can be channeled here out of Soon. He's going to be taken out immediately here. Buds picks up a double.
Yeah, not Death Blossom from Buds there as well. Let's see how they play off the back of it here. Zebasai, you can see him staying behind that shield. Skipjack did well to keep it up, but it finally gets broken and Buds goes in towards him. Misfits have to back away again. They lose 1, 2 players. That's enough. They need a full 6 coming forward. They need to engage this next fight on their terms. Otherwise, they're not going to get to the end of this map.
This problem comes, this whole defense here at Fnatic on this next attack comes down to Custa. He needs to stay alive and not get picked off because Misfits have their combo ready. They have the Death Blossom, they have the Graviton Surge, they have the Ursha. They're going to pop the Graviton Surge down immediately, and you can see Custa pop his ult to keep him alive, but Graviton Surge on both sides is going to pull them completely apart, and Fnatic have more men alive.
Buds goes in as well. He didn't have to use the Death Blossom there. He gets a couple of kills with the Hellfire shotguns. Zapre, again, you hate to be a Reaper caught out on your own there, and that's a team wipe for Fnatic. They're holding on here with 2 minutes remaining in the map. Misfits don't get any extra time after this point. There are no more checkpoints. It's do or die here, and they are running out.
Comes down to this
seconds.
though. Look at Crew. 40% of his ultimate, Custa at 16. If Crew can build his ultimate a little bit quicker than Custa, then Misfits can technically finish off this entire map extremely quickly. Stoop's going to be charging straight through. Misses the charge because they're all back to the corner, but that shield's about to break.
Yeah, Coolmat nice and charged up as well. He's at full charge, but Zapre goes in, gets 2 very quickly with the Death Blossom. Coolmat, though, can respond. IDDQD as well. Takes down Soon. That's a good little mix-up there. And Coolmat still fully charged up on that cannon. He can do a heck of a lot of damage, but still can't take the fight on his own. But he's going forward. He wanted to try and pick off Nevix in the back line. He couldn't get there, and Zapre has made the switch now to Genji.
All right, so he wants to close this game out. He wants to close it out now. Crew is going to have his ultimate up before Custa has it. There's just no doubt about that unless somehow Crew goes down immediately in this fight. There's a minute left to go, and Zapre's trying to harass him towards the backside. Fnatic going to charge straight through with the sound barrier to do something about this. Bud's using Death Blossom towards the backside, but Zapre's already able to get a kill on Custa. That eliminates the Zenyatta from the equation, and there you're going to see Nevix have his own.
He might not even need the Dragon Bait to cut this one down. IDDQD gets on towards Soon, but there's the Graviton Surge. But where's the follow-up? There's just not enough at this stage. stage, especially with IDDQD falling down after that was used. Custom now forced on towards the Tracer to try and keep stalling this one out. A Graviton Surge used just to catch Vonethil. That's how desperate Misfits are to finish this map.
And here's a stall tactics coming out. We see D.Va being picked up by Buzz, just trying to drag this out as long as they can. Zapri trying to sit on the point to keep this one in contention as well for his team. Trying to pick up some kills. Anyone that gets in too close, and Custa on 33 HP is just somehow staying alive. Zapri is going to take him down. They're looking to close it out. Soon gets one. Zebulside finally chimes in, and that should be it.
Yeah, Zapri got the Dragon Blade at just the right moment there. The attempt of Stoop to stall out wasn't enough. The Mei couldn't get the job done, and it wasn't easy. It wasn't quick either, but Misfits get across the line. However, if you're Fnatic right now, Jason, you're feeling pretty good about the defensive hold. That was nasty.
You have to be. I mean, they threw it into overtime, and the only way that Misfits won that fight was because the Graviton Surge coming up and Custa being in a really precarious position. But that's not a time that you're going to write home about. That's not be like, yeah, we did it in 5 minutes. No, that was pretty much the full extent of time, even with a little bit of extra seconds in there because of the overtime. And yeah, I agree with Fnatic. They have to be happy about that time. It's not necessarily too difficult to actually beat, but it's still going to be tough. It's not going to be a clear-cut victory for them. They have to really push and work together well.
Yeah, I agree. At bare minimum, Fnatic need to get past this first point quite quickly here. They can't afford to take 4.5 or 5 minutes as what we saw from Misfits to actually get it done. They need to be pretty darn quick about it. That being said, it's all going to come down to these picks here as well. I'm interested to see if we do actually see the Roadhog here from Buds, Jason.
Yeah, it's possible on the attack, because if you're going to sit behind a shield, if you're running triple tank like this, which as we can see, Zapri is already sitting on Reaper, which is going to make it a little bit more difficult to do that. But you basically get one hook, you can flash bang it up, you get the Discord orb on him, and he's dead. So you have to be careful if you're Misfits here to not get hooked out of position, or you can just say goodbye. Crew has to be really quick with his shields to keep his teammates alive. The fact is, that hook's gonna be up quicker than a shield. So if two people get hooked in a row, you're not gonna have anything to protect them, and you have to be really quick with something to somehow keep them alive. You don't wanna be a man down this first point, where it's a lot quicker for the attacking side to reinforce the point.
So if you're the attacking team on King's Row and you go in and you maybe lose the first fight but get a few kills, that's fine, because you're a lot closer towards the point as far as the attacking spawn goes. So you don't necessarily have to outright get it team-wide to win it, like you said. Just get a couple picks. If you lose or you have to back away and wait for reinforcements, that's fine. Patience pays, attacking on this first point here, and it will be Fnatic coming out of the gate here. They set a very good time up against Misfits on that first half. Let's see if they can beat it.
This triple tank is going to be so hard to deal with. Nevix has to be on point with these Discords, and even Coolmat already at 50 energy, forces them back off the point immediately, because we're going to see Misfits go for the re-attack on this. And actually, Skipjack's a little bit far pushed out here. He's finally able to get a shield up in time here. And soon as Zapri already able to pick up some initial kills, so Stoop and Bud's now down. In the meantime, we're going to have to see Fnatic regroup. On the attack again. They have seen what they're up against, and immediately Bud's a switch. He's gone over to the Reaper, away from Roadhog.
So take note of this positioning from Fnatic here as well. They're not really pushing past that statue unless they want to commit to a fight here, because Misfits are close enough then to jump on them and sort of just completely stagger them out and mess them up here. Slow and steady wins the race, but when Fnatic want to pull the trigger, they may just do it now. They're going to go around the backside, but Zapri's already there, trying to catch it and at least on towards Stoop with some of that damage. But look at the charge in. Stoop lands that one. The Earthshatter comes out behind it, not too bad as well. IDDQD was able to pick up Crew amongst the chaos in that fight.
Yeah, it's a good job actually funneling Misfits into this tight area. Zapper's just trying to come in to maybe stall for a little bit of time. The Saber's going to be used as well to give it a little bit of extra HP. He has the Zeb boss, but he doesn't need it. Nevix chimes in to get IDDQD down, and he's going to throw everything he has at this one as Zebulside is finally able to close down Coolmat, and Buds by himself isn't going to be able to hold. But now we have to keep in mind, because Misfits lost so many people, it's going to take them a lot longer to get back to this point, and Zebulside was actually the man left on point, so we can't tax them to the front unless they give up a lot of position here. So Fnatic can easily take advantage of this, especially with that Graviton Surge at a Coolmat.
I like the Zapri choice of Tracer here as well. It's a bit of a switch for him, but now the Graviton Surge comes down. Look though, where's the follow-up damage? IDDQD only just gets there, and the Transcendence was up over the fight to prevent a lot of that damage even being done. Now the sound barrier for Fnatic is going to keep them a little bit more durable going into this fight. Here's the Dead-Eye, this could be big. No, not even one kill for IDDQD there as well. That's what you do to a Tracer who tries to get up behind him. It's a shot to the dome and send him packing, and Fnatic should have this point.
There you go, Fnatic taking this much quicker, about 2 minutes ahead of time of Misfits. The time to beat still is 9:05, and we're passing the 2-minute mark. So Fnatic.
Custer? Custer?
A little bit of a misclick.
Yeah, I don't know if you want to use Transcendence.
I want to assume it's a misclick. Yeah, it's a little bit of a misplay out of him. And that's actually going to be kind of crucial coming into this Death Valley too, because you want to have a clean second phase.
Kind of the most important ult in the game right
Especially
now.
when Crew has Graviton Surge up in just a few seconds. So they have to maybe look for a pick onto him, or they have to hope for an extremely clean fight. Buds, actually in particular, is the man to kind of watch in this situation. Is he actually behind them? Is he prepared to use this Death Blossom? Because Nevix isn't even close. Yeah, he actually is behind them. Nevix doesn't even have at all, even close to his Transcendence.
Okay, here comes the Graviton Surge now out from Misfits. How's going to be the response from Fnatic? Pulse Bomb goes in there as well. Actually doesn't get any kills. Crew at least gets one to respond, but Fnatic, they didn't start the fight, but you better believe they finish it.
That's what's going to happen when you have a Reaper in such a great position, such a great advantage to take complete control of that fight. Misfits had ult advantage. They had everything they need to close that one out, especially when the Transcendence was down. And look, credit to Buds to be in the right place at the right time.
If you're Fnatic and you took that last point, you used Graviton Surge yourself, you didn't see one from Misfits, you can probably assume that there should be one up in the next fight for Crew, and there was. And they responded to that perfectly as well. Like you said, Buds was positioned off to the side, ready to fight. But here comes the Fnatic Graviton Surge, and this one looks to be followed up pretty damn nicely. Zapra gets on towards Buds here as well, but he has to now keep himself pretty scarce. Cool, man. You can see he's got that charge going, still does a good amount of damage at 30 charge. And this is the Transcendence being used while most of Misfits are already dead.
Yeah, I think he just kind of spammed that one away. I think he was really close to having it up and try to get as much damage as he possibly could to hit it and to get it online in time, but it just didn't work out. And now, Fnatic in the home stretch with so much time left to go here. We're sitting on 5 minutes plus of time. And Zapra, he's going to need to go up big with his Dragon Blade, but I mean, what can you really accomplish with this one? It's going to be really tough against IDDQD if he just flashbangs your face and headshots you.
And that's the same problems that I think Zapra had on Tracer as well. Look, Zepside getting picked off at range by IDDQD. You cannot let that happen, but I guess the Earth Shadow doesn't really connect there as well. We saw the shield from Skipjack prevented that. Now Zapra trying to do damage through a Transcendence. Not always the easiest thing in the world here, but he's going to get a little bit done regardless. Vonnefield, the only player so far for Fnatic to fall there. Now Stoop follows. Now they're missing their Reinhardt. Now they're missing their McCree. Custer not far behind as well, and Fnatic have to quickly and sheepishly back off from this.
So that was a really big fight out of Misfits, because if Zapra didn't force the Transcendence, they wouldn't have had the opportunity to force it until the Graviton Surge came out of Crew, and by that rate, the Graviton Surge is going to be canceled, and that could have been the end of the game, end of the first map for them. So Zapra forced ultimate was so key, and now Misfits have a chance to build up some momentum if they can hit the shots. Soon, getting close to his Deadeye, or Skipjack, if he can hit a good Earth Shadow here, he can have a great opportunity. And you see on the side of Fnatic, they have, well, nothing. They're going to have finally the Death Boss amount of Buds, but can he get in the right position twice?
Graviton Surge now being used on Fnatic here. Crew trying to follow up as much as he can. This should be a done fight pretty much off the back. Buds tries to go in there for a Death Boss, if I'm not mistaken. It kind of doesn't work out there. And Crew and the rest of Misfits are going to be able to push back on this one. Look at this aggression though. IDDQD is not a known giver of cares. He tries to go in, he gets the flashbang and manages to get rid of Crew. Not bad for Fnatic. It's a consolation in that lost fight, but Misfits did use a few ults on them.
Yeah, and if you guys are like aspiring pro players out there, what you saw Misfits do really smartly was they didn't really commit any big ultimates that they needed to when they already knew they won the fight. So they held on to as many ultimates as they possibly can to make sure the fight after is going to buy them a lot of time, because we're now 3 minutes and 30 seconds left. The Misfits have to hold this final point. They cannot let Fnatic cross the line.
So if you're Fnatic, you want to try and charge up so you have 4, maybe 5, 6 players with ults here and just use them to try and wombo Misfits off. Deadeye being used by IDDQD now as well, but that shield from Skipjack is not going anywhere for the moment. He gets no kills from now on, which is pretty common to see at this level, but Fnatic have gained ground. They're going to be taking this fight right in front. Soon goes down. He gets his head plucked like an apple from IDDQD, who now is going to try and stay safe. Zapra gets the Dragon Blade as well, but he's pulled into the Graviton Surge. He tries to dash out. He can. He gets into the back lines there, and IDDQD tries to get rid of him, but he's going to get the sound barrier at least to keep himself alive. It's Custer that took down Zapra.
And they force a Transcendence out of Nevix as well, while Custer uses his dress in the beginning of that fight. Custer just pick up Zapra off the bat, so they don't have a Genji anymore. Now Kumat's finally able to turn on to one, but Skipjack takes out Buds, the big Reaper player that they're going to need. And IDDQD somehow still alive on this payload, getting healed up. He has his Deadeye up again, but it doesn't matter. The Fire Strike out of Skipjack's going to solidify his death. And now Fnatic, they need to look for the next attack. They did get a little bit of progression on the payload, but that's nowhere near enough. It's not even close to as clean as they need to make this happen.
And Fnatic might be starting to sweat a little bit here as well. They are running out of time. They had a huge buffer to start with, but look at this. Crew has got the Graviton Surge and he's not afraid to use it when that fight starts.
And they did force a lot of ultimates out of Misfits, actually. They forced the Graviton Surge, they forced the Transcendence out of Nevix, and now the Graviton Surge is going to be coming in out of Crew yet again just to lock this one down, but he only catches Stoop. He still has a shield available, and now Fnatic can go in yet again. If they can take the shield down out of Skipjack, they have an easy Earth Shadow, but it looks like it's missed.
Yeah, literally a wasted ult there coming out from Crew, but still, let's see how Misfits can work around this. Not very well by the looks of things. Zephyr soon already falling, probably the 2 most important players. Buds has gone over towards the Roadhog here. He'll be waiting for a hook to isolate someone, but Coolmat's doing it all himself. Fnatic seem to have gotten the better of Misfits here as well. They're nowhere to be seen. This payload is getting home, and it looks like Fnatic should be able to solidify this first map. Misfits will be running to try and keep up. Now we're into the stall phase here as much as possible. And you can see it's Demon jumping on towards the point. Graviton Surge used on Crew to keep Misfits back inside their own spawn. Trent Nevix is still on the point. He gets hooked in, and yes, the payload gets across the line, and Fnatic sneak away the first map of the series.
And that was nowhere near as cleanly as they were hoping to, considering they did take that first point relatively quickly, but those fights at the end in the forge really held them back. 7:25 was the time they finished on. Not so as clean as maybe they were hoping for, but it was still a win nonetheless, right? And it's the first game of the day for both these teams, so it's a little bit of a warm-up period for them.
Yeah, I mean, they'll be talking about that one as much as possible and saying, look, we had a pretty decent start, I feel, on that first point eventually.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You know, but from Fnatic, are we really seeing the firebrand nature of this team that we saw online? Maybe not yet here, but Misfits really let themselves down on their attacking half there. That was very, very disjointed play over on towards the first point to try and get things moving.
Yeah, I was really surprised the way Misfits actually went for their first attack. They didn't bother to play in the hotel at all. They didn't try to kind of split up the way Fnatic were defending by 3-3. And Fnatic was smart enough to, kind of retreat when they needed to, group up and wait for the re-attack. Where on Misfits' side, they kind of got split, unfortunately, in a really bad position. And they just got overran. That's what's going to happen when you're 6 or 3v6. But we'll be going to the next map. The loser will be choosing the next map, actually. And the winner of the first map, which Fnatic will be choosing side on that map. And I'm curious to see what they're going to go for.
Well, we're going to be finding out in just a few moments. But in the interim, while this next map is selected, we're going to pass it over to our analyst desk, headed up by Zoe, to break that one down a little bit more.
Thank you so much, guys. Yeah, what a first game. I see a happy hug to my left. And, but yeah, it was still incredibly well played by both of those teams. I love the fact how Fnatic just held on so steadily and so calm at the beginning.
Yeah, they almost got the total shutout.
Yes.
We were just saying, like, wow. It's just like, what a start, what a start. And then, I mean, we were just saying, like, how gutted are you? But they recovered well. A 9-minute 05 time was always going to be very easy for Fnatic to chase. But that initial start, I mean, it all began. We were immediately so excited about it. Was the pin on the Reinhardt boosted? I mean, Mitch was talking about it straight away, and obviously we were talking about at the start how Anna might be coming into this one as a big part of it. And that's how you deal with it.
I definitely like seeing Anna on the capture points. I think she's underused at this point in time, but incredibly clutch stuff out of Stoop to charge early on in that fight. And in terms of the Streets phase was a breeze for Fnatic, or sorry, for Misfits and Fnatic. Yeah. And that's totally normal, guys, by the way. That tends to happen here on Kings Row. But yeah, you're right. When the time was set of 9 minutes and 5 seconds, that already may have been the end for Misfits.
And I think this comes back to what we were talking about earlier. Even pre-game, when we had those delays, we were looking at, Fnatic, we're looking at Misfits, we're panning to the players. Fnatic, they're joking, they're laughing, they're winking at the camera, they're blowing kisses. On the other side, Misfits, they're all like very quiet, they're not talking to each other, they're not having fun. And then even at the end of the game, it was the same situation. Misfits, they all had their heads down, no one was saying anything. Like if you just lost, it should be like, hey, you guys, good job, we can do it, something. There was absolutely nothing, and that came down to play. It seemed like Fnatic was always there.
Yeah, big moment at the end as well with the Roadhog pick, actually going with here we go.
And you can see
some highlights for you guys.
Right, it's all blue all day, and they absolutely wiped them. I feel like Fnatic, like you said, Damon, as soon as they got momentum, look at them, they're pumped up, they're comfortable, and they showed it in their gameplay throughout the whole time. They're trading ults efficiently. Everything about them seems like, hey, we're having fun here, we're here to win, let's do it. Misfits, they're quiet. They're quiet. So
I mean, we were going to talk about it before we got here. It was just how do you deal with the delays, etc. How comfortable are you? But I mean, you said it right there. Fnatic dealt with it, the team spirits, and that can be a massive part of certainly a big 6v6 game.
Yeah, I mean, Fnatic seemed very confident already and like very relaxed at the beginning when we saw the players getting ready and everything, and they choked around. They were laughing. They were actually really enjoying themselves, which I understand because we already have like a great crowd here. Everyone is excited for the matches. However, Misfits, they looked more tense, and it kind of showed at the beginning of the game too.
So, I mean, we talked about the boot camping as well.
Exactly.
Yeah. In London, they've been together now for a full week. They have the coaching, as we did talk about before as well, whereas Misfits playing from home.
Yeah, I mean, it's the difference. They've been sat together for a week. They've got that team bonding going already. And clearly it's going well. These guys are looking a little down on themselves.
Yeah.
So Misfits already need to be sorting problems out. Now, we've already had the second map coming, I believe.
That's true. The guys are ready and so are we. So let's just jump right into the action and see if Misfits can bring it back.
Yeah, Nepal being the map, King of the Hill. We talked about this earlier.
Back to the desk here
I
as
didn't
well.
think
It is going to be Nepal.
Yep.
An interesting pick here as well, and if I'm not mistaken, it's not one we see Fnatic play or even opt to play very frequently at all.
Yeah, actually, there's 0-2 on it. They played a total of 2 times so far as a team, and they've lost every time. Where on the other side, Misfits have won it 7 times and lost it 2 times. So looking pretty good just based on numbers for Misfits. However, that first game definitely didn't shine in Misfits' favor.
Yeah, and look, this is maybe not a huge surprise to us, Jason, as well, given the Misfits' recent performances on that map. But now we're going to be jumping into the pool here as well. Starting off with Shrine, ladies and gentlemen. Obviously, that raised platform in the middle of the map here, and already the fight has begun as the teams obviously want to establish dominance early on here and try and snowball themselves into an early lead.
Cool match is not being dealt with. You're able to build up a decent amount of energy so far, but most importantly, a lot of ult charge at 41%, where Crew is only at 17. Now it's just a battle of the Tracers, IDDQD, which he's deadly on McCreep, is also extremely deadly on Tracer. So you have to really respect this one, and Zappri's gonna have a little bit of a tough time dealing with them. But he has Pulse Bomb available, and Pulse Bomb is also a really good counter to a Graviton Surge, because that burst damage you do of 400 HP can't be healed. It's just not possible.
Well, you count as Transcendence very heavily, you're exactly right. Burst damage is the killer of that one. So Zappri already having his ult early is a good sign now as well. But Misfits hold the point. It's up to Fnatic now to push in and try and take over it. Soon more than happy to be at the front lines here as well. Has to be careful. He's looking for the Winston, but he gets taken down quickly by Coolmat here. Fnatic at the first 2 pickoffs. IDDQD coming in with a Pulse Bomb. This should help Fnatic take the first point quite comfortably.
And he throws it just to split them apart. And it will eventually fall to Crew, but one thing I want to point out is that we saw on the last map as well, Misfits, they're throwing in someone with a shield on him from Azaria.
Right.
The thing is, Fnatic doesn't care. They actually shoot through it. They actually blow up the shield to kill that person, and right there it was Skipjack jumping in. Shield got dispersed because they want to focus that player down, but it didn't work. It wasn't even close. So, sorry, it was the other way around. Stoop that jumped in, and Misfits tried to take it down, but it wasn't quick enough. They weren't able to burst him down in time, which gives Coolmat so much extra free energy, and not to mention builds up his ult a lot quicker. 30% ahead of Crew. He has Graviton Surge up. They have 5 ultimates ready to go, and IDDQD won't be far off.
That's right. It's going to be a very messy fight at this rate here as well. We already hear a little bit of a charge up there on Crew's cannon. It's going to be a sound barrier for Misfits and for Fnatic, but they've already lost Stoop early on in the fight. Soon goes in. Death Blossom gets himself 2 kills, and now Graviton Surge is available. Crew lets it go, but just at the last moment, he gets picked up. Soon, though, was still left to his own devices here in this fight. He and Zappre combining us so nicely on towards Fnatic. They can't be dealt with right now by the Americans, and it is going to be soon to stand on the point and get the extra damage across the line. It's flipped to Misfits.
There we go. So Misfits getting the point back now up to 38%. And Fnatic struggling a little bit. I mean, they had so many ultimates ready to go. The problem was they didn't use them. They did use Sound Barrier and the Graviton Surge, but the Graviton Surge came in a little bit late. And Transcendence as well wasn't able to really heal the people who were already dead. So Misfits need to go on the attack themselves, and kind of have to pay attention to this, man. You have to really notice IDDQD and a Pulse Bomb. If he hits it perfectly, it's going to be hard for Misfits to fight back.
The Graviton Surge comes out here from Misfits this time, and unfortunately IDDQD has to look on in dismay as the rest of his team is taken down. But he can still stand on the backlines here and stagger out some respawns. Get a couple kills. You don't have to win the fight on your own as Tracer here. Just do some damage, keep being annoying, and really try to fray the nerves of Misfits.
And the important part is he actually didn't die. Like that's so key for him. Even though he's Tracer, you get back to the fight quickly. You want to have your fight as a 6-man, and you want to do it as soon as possible because time is taken away. Misfits at 80% now. They're going to charge straight through. The Death Blossom even being used immediately out of Buzz, but it doesn't connect on a single person, doesn't kill anyone. And Skipjack going Primal Rage trying to knock people off the point.
That was a big Transcendence from Nevix. He shut down the burst damage coming across from Fnatic now as well, and Skipjack free to just swing to all his might, I guess, but Stoop was doing much the same here. Both Winston stood tall, but Nevix gets a quick pick up there as well. IDDQD and Custom both fall, but now Buzz and Stoop are exerting some pressure on this fight. Skipjack realizes he needs to jump back towards the point here. As Misfits are in overtime, all they're going to do is hold on here. It doesn't look like it's going to be possible, though, and Fnatic keep this round alive for them for now, but they've got a lot of percent to catch up on here, Jason.
Really impressive, though, that Fnatic was able to take the point back, considering Nevix picked up IDDQD and he picked up Custa. Like, those are 2 huge pickups to be to have immediately off in the start of the fight, but they're able to take that one back. And you can see Skipjack, he's trying to focus on IDDQD. He's trying to leap where he's going from his Tracer's a little bit more mobile than a Winston will be. But Graviton Surge is up for Coolmat. It's going to be impactful. He needs to hit this. And Misfits, they have quite a few ultimates coming up online. They're not going to really commit anything here because they don't need to. They have the time to get back onto the point, and they should eventually lose this fight. Fnatic should be able to hold.
Now Stoop goes in there as well. He does a heck of a lot of damage with that Tesla cannon when there's like 4 people drawn together. Stoop got 4 kills in that fight. Great performance there from the Winston player from Fnatic. But again, he didn't have to do too much, Jason.
Yeah.
That Graviton Surge was pretty crisp.
And they forced it out of him too. So that's actually a really big win for Misfits because they're going to have Graviton Surge themselves and the Pulse Bomb combo out of Zapre. So if you see Crew hit a 3-4-man Pulse Bomb, expect people to be blown up into pieces. It just comes down to if they can do it correctly, and the time is taken away, but they're grouping up, looking for the speed boost in, and Fnatic are respecting this. You can see Bud's already backing away.
So you need to finish this game now, otherwise they could let Fnatic run away with it here. It's a Death Blossom in the middle of the mix there, but no damage really being done there by Buds. He's at least still alive, but he's missing his teammates. It's just Buds and Custer. Zapre gets himself 2 there. The Pulse Bomb was absolutely on point. Soon finds Buds here, and this will be a flip back for Misfits, and they should be able to win off the back of this one if Fnatic aren't damn quick onto the point.
Yeah, that's going to be it. That's going to be Misfits taking the first one. Not even a single person close on a Fnatic to actually recap that. But that's what we see. Like, the fact that Misfits went in, they knew they had the time to make 2 fights happen, right? We forced the Garros on Surge, we have our own, we build up ultimates, we don't commit anything, and we come to the next fight with a post-bomb Graviton combo, and it picked up 2 people. And that's all you really need to win these fights. So it was just a really smart play out of them, really smart play out of Zebasai to realize where they were at and what they needed to win the actual round.
And stage number 2 will be Sanctum here on Nepal, which is a bit more of an enclosed area with a couple of balconies on either side you can work your way from. If you are a close range fighter, you can access the center of the map as well through a little bit of a drop down shoot. Although if you like to play the longer range, you can use the left side or the right side depending on where you spawn from. So obviously Misfits are 1 up in this series. It's a best of 5 inside Nepal, so we're going to see some maps repeated here. Fnatic, now they've got to answer the challenge that Misfits have laid down, Jason.
Yeah, so pretty much the same lineups for both teams. Nothing really being changed too much. Both Tracers still can be locked in out of IDDQD and Zapre. I'm really expecting to see, like, playing a Zenyatta in this comp is so difficult because you get focused on by a Tracer, and ideally you get jumped on by a Winston. So it's really hard to kind of stay alive. You depend on your Lucio player to speed you out of these positions and get you into a favorable spot. We already see Misfits trying to go in around the backside, and Fnatic are more than happy to force the fight.
Yeah, Misfits really want to get aggressive here as much as they can. Zebo, lucky to be alive, he had to back away. He took a bit of early damage, but was able, of course, to heal himself and the rest of his team back up. The boot was pretty darn good. IDDQD had a recall charge left and was able to escape instant death from falling, but Zebo ended up picking him off there with a couple extra shots. So Misfits definitely seem to have a little bit more of an aptitude, Jason, for the King of the Hill style here. Strong first round and a strong first fight is sitting him on a good trajectory here to go up 2-0. Fnatic can't shake them off. Buds, off into the Genji.
Yeah, so switcher things over. They definitely want to focus down on the Nevix. They want to eliminate him completely. Remember the guy who has been #1 on the leaderboard for quite a long time. He's no longer anymore. Unfortunately for him, spending a lot more time practicing. But he's deadly on aim, and Zenyatta is extremely good for him. But there we see Skip jumping straight into the backline. The post one coming through, but doesn't seem to pick up any kills. And Bud's immediately going for Nevix, and you can see Nevix backing away, forcing Buds to get away from this position and go for the heal.
Very disjointed there from Buds, trying to get some assassinations done. Tries to go for the one-hit combo there as well. Doesn't actually land the melee attack, so he's not able to deal with Zebasai. Again, if you're not damaging a Lucio, he's healing, so that's what you have to contend with.
And you're seeing Zebasai and Nevix hold hands just to stay alive, to keep each other alive, with the speed out of Zebasai to allow Nevix to get out of these tough spots, and Zebasai to depend on Nevix to pick up these shots and they hit these kills.
All right, we do see in the back line already, yes, Bud's trying to get there, but Skipjack takes him out. He goes in with a Tesla cannon and gets the kill. This is Misfits really starting to wake up in these fights now. The Discord Orb on IDDQD is going to make him very easy prey, and Nevix is staying alive as well. Get the Discord Orb and a bit of damage across on towards Stu. There's nothing he can do but just accept the torrent of balls going into his head and just lay down and take it.
I really wish we could see how much damage Nevix has done, because it's got to be insane. You saw his accuracy right there. He missed like 2 out of 7 shots. That's damn good on Zenyatta, especially when you're projectile based. But Misfits are pushed up. They have 5 ultimates ready to go. This is almost the last fight for Fnatic. If they're going to force a fight, they have to do it now, and they have to hope that Misfits are going to waste ultimates. But they use their own. Ground Surge on a cool man is going to pretty much pull them together, yes, but Nevix has a Transcendence ready to go. And just like that, Misfits will pick up the kills they need, and Fnatic won't successfully take the point.
Yeah, it looks like Misfits have got the elbow grease to get Fnatic off the map yet again. Fnatic didn't even get close. Misfits had the ults ready to counter them out here, and we are going to go to 100%. We are going to go to 2-0 here, and Misfits looking very strong here on Sanctum.
So now we're going to go over to Village here, Mitch. This is where things get really interesting actually for these teams, because ideally they'll be fighting on the high ground off the bat, kind of battling 6v6, butting heads together. And that Winston Zarya combo is extremely strong here. When you throw the Winston in, put a shield on him, your Zarya's instantly gonna have 50 energy. And it comes down to who's gonna have the better aim, who can hit the right clicks a little bit more often onto the more targets to build up that Graviton Surge, because that's where the really big turning points come down to. Who has Graviton Surge up and who doesn't. That's the big initiator for a lot of these big combos.
It's such a game of chess sometimes as well, and if you're trying to retake the point, you want to try and force the enemy team to waste as many ults as possible, but you have to commit a certain degree to actually have the enemy in response commit their own ults, right? So sometimes it can be very, very hard to retake the point, a bit of a snowball aspect sometimes for holding teams. And Misfits seem to have a little bit of a better understanding of how to stagger their ults out efficiently to keep them going for a long time on the point.
You can see both Winstons going to the back lines, but Stu's gonna be taken down immediately here. Doesn't necessarily get as much backup as he was hoping for. And Fnatic so far are just crumbling on this first attack, which should give Misfits not only ult advantage, ideally the point.
You can't deal with Soon. Soon has been such a problem for Fnatic over all of these maps so far here. His Reaper is pretty darn scary. He is the main hit scan player for Misfits in general. The fact that Zapre can then split off and play this Tracer as well sees him doing incredible work. And Buds, we need to see more from him right now. The Genji pick for him on Sanctum didn't work out in the slightest. He got picked off very easily, albeit by Winston, but still, you need to be prepared for that.
You have to look where the pressure's being applied and where the Zarya's throwing the shield, because Soon is getting a hell of a lot of these shields to keep him alive, not to mention speed out of Zeba's side. And in the meantime, Bud's actually getting pushed off by himself, away from his entire team, trying to get a health pack. Come will finally be able to turn one kill onto him, but the kill feed is just all red, and Fnatic won't even have a chance here. Misfits didn't even need to commit a single ultimate to that, and they charge up their ultimates. Crew's gonna have his Graviton Surge again, Skipjack now has Promo Rage available, and Transcendence is there for Nevix.
The reason why this map can be so difficult sometimes is that it's not like King's Row first point. You can't just push in and get a couple kills and then know that you can secure the point because they have to walk longer. Both teams have to walk the same amount of distance to get onto that middle point here. So you have to actually clean them off. You need to team wipe them essentially to get the point back in your favor. That's not easy to do, and especially not for Fnatic in this case here as well. Look at Crew, just he's got the cojones to go forward and start this fight up quite nicely as well. Pulse Bomb follows up, Bonnefield falls to that one. Zapre looks for his third, but Buds is able to shut him down. Again, Fnatic aren't trading well into these fights at all. They might get one kill, but it's often at the cost of 3 or 4 or even more.
And look what Misfits did. They used 2 ultimates. And they didn't even need to necessarily use the Pulse Bomb there. They used it because he's going to have it back up in a few seconds anyway, so not a big deal. Now they have the Graviton Surge combo with the Death Blossom for the next attack if they want to do on the point. Fnatic had to be really careful to not group up. And Crew, he's been sitting at 50 plus energy this entire time. Transcendence being used on Fnatic before even the Graviton Surge was used. It's going to pull them all together. No kills coming through just yet, but this is going to be a hurting for Fnatic.
Death Blossom there coming in from Soon to follow up on that damage, but it's actually Buds who gets himself on towards the kill feed. Gets himself 2 from his own ultimate there. Finally, he's starting to activate. Let's hope it's not too little too late here, because Fnatic have wrestled this point away from Misfits. Slowly but surely they've managed to finally wear them down. But they have to chase this big title, this total of 85% on this point. Fnatic are only just starting to accrue towards that. They're going to need to hold this point for the next 2, 3, 4 fights even.
Yeah, Nevix, he didn't use his Transcendence in that fight. I think he thought they had it won with the Graviton Surge being used, and because Custa used his Transcendence too early, but because he didn't use it, they lose the fight, they lose the point, they lose the chance for that quick 3-0 on Nepal, and now Skipjack getting pulled in. There's the post bomb coming through. It doesn't really connect onto anyone, unfortunately, because Nevix does have Transcendence this time, but he realizes they don't have ultimates available really to counter them too much.
Yeah, that's right. They tried to use the Graviton Surge to hold Misfits off, but that's not going to be enough to keep these guys at bay. It's going to be Skipjack coming forward, the German Maverick as it was, swinging his arms left and right. Now just has to deal with his opposite number and try and keep his squishier backline alive. However, he's run out of teammates here. It's just he and Zebasai. They're going to have to back away here as well, along with Crew, and wait for the rest of the reinforcements to come in. Misfits have time. They have a little bit of time, but they need to use this one wisely. Build up towards some ultimates, build up to one last fight where they take Fnatic out and they win this map 3-0.
And IDDQD has actually the opportunity to win this map for them. If he hits a good pulse bomb onto a couple of people, completely end of the fight. Bud's going straight through. He's going to have Death Blossom up in this fight as well. The Transcendence not being popped just yet. It's going to be used on a Custa this time just to keep them alive on the point because they want to take it now. There's Death Blossom coming through, but immediately gets taken out by Zapre. He doesn't have a chance to pick up a kill. And Custa to the side trying to take this 1v1 against Trace. So he's going to get pulse bombed up. He knows he's dead. And that's me, Misfits taking the point back.
Yeah, turned into a 4v2 there. Misfits had all the players up on that site. The attempted Death Blossom for Buds, not quite enough there as well. Tracer does hurt up close and when she's getting a lot of those headshots. So now, Fnatic have scant seconds left to retake this point. They have no time to set up. They have no time to have a cup of tea, have a mother's meeting. This is it. Buds gets himself up towards the point there. It's going to be the Discord off used on Crew, but it's not going to work. IDDQD falls to his death. That can't happen here. That's unacceptable for Fnatic. They can't even get on towards this point, and Misfits making it 3-0. We go 1-1 in maps, Jason, and what a response from the European team here as well. Fnatic look completely out of their depth on that map.
And you really have to kind of point that down to just the Zarya play out of both teams. It was just coming down to where you're going to put your shield. Are you going to put on your support? Are you going to put on your Reaper? We saw Buds there pop his Death Blossom, didn't really get anything off of that.
Yeah.
We didn't have a Zarya shield to keep him alive because that shield was forced onto supports a little bit earlier on the fight. So honestly, you have to give credit to Misfits. I think they're playing around Crew on the Zarya and how well he plays this hero to a great extent. I think that's why they're going to be winning these really heavy skirmish battles, because he knows who to put the target or the shield on at the right time to win them a fight.
So, Jason, it swings and roundabouts, and the second map goes over to Misfits. It's one apiece in this best of 3. And while we wait on the next map, let's check in with the analyst desk for a bit of their insights.
Yeah, the European giant Misfit brought it back. They tied the series up 1-1. King of the Hill, Nepal, great choice for them. What did you guys make of the game?
I mean, they've just proven don't mess with them on King of the Hill. They beat Reunited 3-0 on Ilios. We thought, okay, maybe it's just Ilios, but now, obviously, that was in the regional finals on the way here. Now they've just swept Fnatic aside, almost 100-0 of them in 2 maps as well. It was very one-sided there.
You know, Huck, you're a genius. I think you called this.
A little
Word
bit.
for word, you said that we were going to see Misfits opt to go to King of the Hill. It is what ended up happening here. And they just played so well. What I noticed from the team is that they were able to section off the incoming assault from Fnatic so many times. I mean, we saw Custa get caught out, especially by Winston, time and time again.
I mean, the biggest part is they won the initial opening fight every single map.
Yeah, and we can see that here. I mean, this, like we said, Fnatic, very momentum-based team, and on King of the Hill, that is ultimately the most important thing, and it seems like they just had no room to breathe. It's never seemed like they actually had anything going. They got the point a couple times, but all in all, it seemed like they're always behind in ults, they're always not putting up kills, and it seems like even the supports from Misfits side are playing really well. So when you have a whole team, instead of 2 or 3 players, which I would say Fnatic, 2 or 3 players are showing up. Misfits, as a whole team, they're coming together. Now, going into map 3, Dorado, I want to favor my boys. I picked Fnatic. I think they're going to do it. We're going back to, you know, payload-based map, not King of the Hill. I think they're going to have an advantage here.
Yeah, I'm not surprised to see Fnatic choose Dorado either. Yeah. It's one of the older maps in the pool. It's one that teams love to scrim time and time again. So they're going to where they think they're going to be comfortable, if I had to guess.
But what are you guys thinking they have to do to win it? Like,
well,
what is the key point here for
the
both
biggest
of those
problem
teams?
is it's a map that Misfits have struggled on in the past, and it's a map that Fnatic are generally pretty damn good on. So wise choice from them. Someone's seriously done their research and just said, we're going to catch them out with this one. There's a couple of, obviously, points, the choke points. The first point is very hard to get past, but if you get past that, then you catch the church section. That's very tricky, and then you're into the power station section. There's a lot of stumbling blocks in this map, but if you win out one of those fights, suddenly you can find yourself posting a very quick time. If you can suddenly get through the church section very quick, and you give yourself, what, 5 minutes in the power station, it gives you a big advantage.
Yeah, even mentally.
Yeah.
And like Misfits, they've shown that they can go up against Fnatic, but payload, I mean, Fnatic won, and they almost held that first point. And as you said, on Dorado, that first point, it's fairly easy to hold. There's a lot of great defensive positionings on this map. There's a lot of high ground. They can do it. I think Fnatic. I picked them first.
We'll see. I mean, the game is about to start, so let's not lose any time and head straight into the action.
Oh, I love it. Sorry, just cut it short. Get it done. Back to the casters. Let's go. We are obviously got a few games today, so we're going to keep it nice and tight for you guys. Jason, it's Dorado. We've seen Fnatic on this map recently. They look good, but this was, at least until my recent knowledge expired, the best map for Misfits as well.
Yeah, they're actually 13 wins and 5 map losses on this one against the best teams in North America and Europe. Only kind of side we can give it, though, for Fnatic is that Misfits haven't really played too much lately, and the fact that Fnatic had such a phenomenal defense on King's Row. And King's Row first point's a lot harder to defend than Dorado first point. So Misfits, I think they're going to struggle a little bit onto attack, which they have actually been forced onto because actually, no, they're actually allowed to play this one. Fnatic wanted to play defense first because the winner of the last map chooses side, the loser chooses the map. So Misfits have to be confident in their attacking side.
So Misfits used to be a very strong team on this map, or at least when they were, they used Junkrat extensively on defense. Their defense was actually what gave them the wins on this map, and honestly, the same went for Fnatic. I don't think either of these teams have an exactly stellar attack on this map. I remember watching Fnatic almost stall out. I think it was against Energy there. After a really good defense, they almost were messed up, I guess, when they went to attack.
Fnatic's defense, what they did against Energy, was actually play to the position that the attacking side went. If you went through underpass, they'd be there ready. If you went up the staircase to go on high ground, they're immediately there. Yeah, so they didn't let you get comfortable. They didn't let the attacking side get in a position to attack the way they want to. And let's see what they're going to do on the defense this time.
Map 3, ladies and gentlemen, kick it off. It's going to be Dorado. The winner will advance, of course. The loser is not out yet as well, but it's a best of 3. And at this stage, it's 1-1. Can't afford to make any more mistakes. Fnatic start up on that top little edge there as well. They get a bit of an idea of how Misfits are setting up here. What most teams are going to do once they get to this little underpass, this tunnel, is they're going to leave the payload and then go up to the left-hand side. but Fnatic are very good at countering this, so keep an eye on how they set up for this one. Jason, it looks like they're actually sitting quite a long way back on the right side building here. Look at Crew, gets himself in, ignoring the enemy Reinhardt there as Stu can't really swing at him while he keeps the shield up, but IDDQD in the back line getting some damage done.
Well, more importantly, Zapper's actually not playing McCree, or they're not even running to McCree, actually. They're going to be running a Tracer out of him just to get into the back as quick as they possibly can, not allow Fnatic to even get in a position, and Zapper, pretty much opening up the entire point himself. They take it in 48 seconds. Misfits, that's a good start.
What just happened? Fnatic, we've never seen them crumble so quickly on this defense before. Misfits coming out of the gate so strong. Normally Fnatic can get the measure of a team on this first point. They can match them, they can get in their face and stop them. But Fnatic just let them walk in, snatch up all their vases and weaves, and put the payload straight through the door.
It was a Tracer. They didn't expect it. If they did, IDQD would have been playing Tracer to kind of mirror him here, and Skipjack's immediately jump in as well. They have a really aggressive lineup with Winston and Tracer together to jump in, with Crew there to support with the shields. They're not looking to kind of burn you down with the Reinhardt be Reinhardt. They want to jump in, they want to force these fights, and so far Misfits have been winning them.
That's right, Fnatic don't have the chance to set up on the defense here. They can't leisurely go back and walk up the stairs and set up on the balcony when you've got Misfits already attacking you as you're trying to get there. So Fnatic now have to play a bit of a running defense here as well, keep themselves moving, but they're not being given any space at all. Soon goes in and gets 2 kills. Skipjack's already picked up Custer, and look at this, Skipjack already getting aggressive on towards Coolmat. There's no chance for Fnatic to set their feet here.
But Fnatic, they do have Graviton Surge. You saw Misfits, they used the Transcendence because they wanted to force this fight. They wanted to take Coolmat down and transition into a clean second phase. The problem now is Fnatic are ready. They have Death Blossom, they have Graviton Surge, and Misfits, will they get the point, or will Fnatic hold?
No, they're going to try and stop them here. 4 minutes to go, and it is contested, but still, it's all about Misfits. Zapray and Zoom get themselves 2 kills, and now IDDQD comes back in with 2. Custer finds Crew, and we can see that Nevix is having just to back away at this stage. IDDQD gets challenged by Skipjack, but he fans the hammer on the airborne Winston and takes him down. Well, Jason, they completely missed the first stage. The second phase as well was almost a blowout, but Fnatic have just held in front of the Lumerico complex here.
And that was almost a major mess about Fnatic too, because Buds got caught out 1v1 against Zapray and died. He didn't have a chance to use that ultimate, but Custa and IDDQD coming up big. Huge for their team to maintain the second point and look for a second chance to finally build up some time, because we're 2 minutes and 40 seconds in, and Misfits are knocking on the door of the finish line.
This is nuts. Unheard of from Fnatic as well. We expect so much more from them on the defense here, but Europe looking pretty good so far. There's Buds though, finds Crew as he's trying to set up there on that Graviton Surge. Soon now forced into a 1v1, but his opposite number, the Reaper, trying to get away. He's got to deal with Stoop right in his way, throws the Fire Strike out, and soon having to duck and dodge behind his little minivan to stay alive. So far it's working out, but he's lacking teammates. Oh, Buds gets his head taken off there as well. Lovely little turn by Soon. Unfortunately, the weight of players for Fnatic is going to be too strong, and IDDQD even gets Zapra as he tries to jump off the edge.
Oh, that's rough. So IDDQD is going to have his Deadeye available. They have Graviton Surge again for this next fight at 80% for Coolmat. And Misfits again, Nevix, he did have Transcendence, but he didn't bother to use it. And Fnatic, smartly enough, they didn't overcommit ultimates there. They want to put up a good defense. That's what they did on King's Row. They were very smart about how they committed these ultimates, how much value they could accomplish off of them. And Misfits are being forced into a different position, coming in from the high ground. They don't have a Reinhardt to sit behind, so it's really hard for them to challenge in a 6v6. They have to go in, they have to get aggressive and fight.
Soon now trying to use it, find a good spot to at least use his Death Blossom here. It's going to be the Transcendence coming over the top. Nevix now sets the one down, keeping Misfits healthy. 300 health per second is not something to sniff at. Bud's the only player from Fnatic who gets the kill. He's going to get shut down, but the Graviton Surge from Coolmat. Where's the follow-up? There's no one else to help him do damage there as well. It's not the first time we've seen Coolmat make errors with that Zarya Graviton Surge, and again, it seems to be the case.
Seems like Bud just wants to get a little bit too aggressive. Like, he's trying to go into the backline of Misfits, but the problem is, Misfits are jumping into his backline, and when Skipjack jumps in, you need a Reaper to deal with them. And I think Bud's just playing his position a little bit odd. Zapray's gonna get the post bomb off, gets stooped down very low on HP, and they're trying to force him back as well, using even the sound barrier there, just give him a little bit more positioning here. Stoop's able to take down Soon.
IDDQD gets pinned to the wall there by Zapray, who gets himself into the backlines, but Fnatic at the high ground, they're gonna give it up. They're jumping down. Bud has the Death Blossom, gets himself 2 kills. He gets Zapray and Zebasai, and he gets on Skipjack. Well, not a moment too soon for Fnatic to have a decent fight win here as well. They've given so much of this map over to Misfits, and they need to use this high ground so well in the next few moments if they want to have any hope of holding Misfits back from finishing this map.
And now you're seeing Misfits adapt. Skipjack switching for the Winston over to Reinhardt. They realize they need to play this one, and Zapray switching over to the McCree, leaving Soon on Reaper. So they realize what they have to do here in this final point. It's so hard to penetrate this defense, especially when they're ready on that high ground. And because of these switches, they're gonna have to wait for their ultimates. They don't really have a chance to win this fight fight, unless you get some cheeky picks.
Yeah, Fnatic have ult advantage right now. I think Graviton Surge is all that Misfits are going to have anytime soon. And they're probably not going to use it. So Earthshatter comes down there as well. Stoop gets into the back line, but waiting in the wings was Zapre. Getting a couple of shots across. He gets Bonifil as well. So much freedom going to this McCree player here. He can do whatever he wants. He can have his way with Fnatic at this rate. IDDQD though, he's sitting in the back himself as well. Gets on the ward soon, but Zapre wants to show up his opposite number. But Bud says no. He turns up the heat. He turns up the attention. Now IDDQD's left very much in enemy lines. But Bud's 3 kills on that kill feed for him makes it easy for IDDQD to get the cleanup.
Still really rough out of Fnatic. That wasn't really a clean hold at all. Graviton Surge being committed after they lost Stoop and after they lost Bonifil. They lost 2 big players for the team. And well, I guess Colemat doesn't care too much as he has switched over to the D.Va. Bonifil able to take down Crew. I guess they're able to chase them back with a speed boost, with Stoop leading the way. And Misfits even doing a switch themselves. They're going over from the McCree to the Genji. Zapre looking to help close out this game. He did this on King's Row as well. So he's feeling very confident in his ability to pick off someone. Colemat's gonna have a tough time though, because as we were saying before in the pre-show, Zarya is an extremely good counter to D.Va, especially with the Discord orb.
That's right. So D.Va kind of has to hope that she can eat up a lot of Zarya's damage with that brief window you have on the defense matrix. But now, Fnatic have to jump off the edge pretty soon. They need to start this fight. They can't allow the payload to pass under, and they're trying to keep it contested as they do here. Eventually that shield's gonna go down, and Fnatic are gonna have no choice but to jump in. Sound Barrier comes out from Bonifil. That should be the signal to go. Coolmat goes in there with the defense matrix. He's trying to set this one up here, but Skipjack's now swinging for the fence with the axe. We can see Coolmat getting charged. He's knocked out of his suit. The Buddy Blast is all he's got left, and it's all about Misfits. They're winning this fight. Coolmat goes down, and Bud falls too soon. It's all red. It's all Misfits, and that payload is going to get home if Fnatic don't stop it now.
IDQD's going to go down as well. One of the last few remaining hopes. Coolmat's going to be switching to the Tracer just to delay as quick as he possibly can. Skipjack just going to be holding the front line. The payload's still moving. They're coming in for the backside. They will get it contested, but now the question comes down to, for how long can they keep this going?
Skipjack used an Earth Shadow to try and slow Fnatic down now as well, so Buds goes in right.
Oh, no!
That's my man from downtown, and Stoop gets the charge on towards Zebasai, and Buds manages to find Skipjack here as well. Skipjack used that Earth Shadow a little bit frivolously, a little bit too aggressively, got no one with it, and then he had, I guess Misfits didn't really have the ults to win that fight out.
To be honest, Misfits shouldn't even have won that last fight because they didn't have high ground control at all. Fnatic were just sitting up towards the high ground like, all right, we see you down there, we're letting the payload continue to move, we're still contesting it, and yet Fnatic just got out of position. They kind of fell off the high ground. They didn't use that to their advantage. And now you see them switch over to so many different heroes. You don't have that self-destruct anymore. We're not even close to it because Coolmat did go over to the Winston. He was even Tracer before that. But IDDQD has it available. And Zapre with the Dragon Blade is looking to help close out this first map, this first half.
Deadeye being used there as well. That's IDDQD. So hoping to zone a little bit here as well. And you can see Misfits have been stopped in their tracks from that ult. Now they're going to have to come back in. Zapre has Dragon Blade as well. Keep your eyes on that one. There's a speed boost coming in as well. Fnatic hoping to get into a better position, and Misfits want to get in their face. Here comes a Dragon Blade as well. It's through a Discord of McCree there. He's trying to find IDDQD, but he can't get him. The Genji gets shut down. Coolmat gets the Tesla Cannon onto the sneaky, slippery little ninja and picks him off. Buds responds on towards Crew from the top side of Misfits. They've still got 3 players here, but have got to back away and wait for all 6 here. It's do or die, and they're running out of time.
Yeah, Custody just discords up Zapre on the Genji, and Coolmat just sticks to him like glue. That's all you have to do to take down the Genji and eliminate him completely from this one. And now, like you said, last attack coming out of Misfits, 30 seconds left to go. They have a Graviton Surge. They're going to have an Earth Shatter relatively soon, and Nevix, most importantly, is going to have that Transcendence to allow Skipjack and Soon to both build up ultimates. Fnatic, though, they have a Deadeye. IDQ is going to be in a good position to actually make this one work, and not to mention even Coolmat switching back to the D.Va.
Now one shot, one more chance for Misfits to finish things off here now. The starter from the low ground. They're going to have a Graviton Surge from Crew here, and they need to use it quite wisely here. Here comes the Sound Barrier being used now as well. Soon gets towards that fight, and you can see the Transcendence coming across the top by Nevix. He's keeping Misfits nice and healthy as they continue to gain some ground here. Stoop was caught out on his own. Oh, the Death Blossom! Bud in and gets himself 4 kills. Misfits are nowhere to be seen. He's taken them apart at the very stitches, and Fnatic will hold them back. What a clutch Death Blossom coming in from Buds. Fnatic have held Misfits to just a distance and not a time.
Misfits were so focused on that front side, focused on pushing that payload, they didn't bother to look behind them. Bud's just dropping in, picks up 4 kills, closes out that half. Yeah, exactly. Well done by Fnatic, considering how bad that first point of hold for them was. You have to give credit to Zapre to actually kind of penetrate that defense immediately with the Tracer and catch them off guard. Now the question comes down to, are we going to see a Junkrat out of Crew? Looks like he doesn't want to go that route on the defense. He's going to be sticking to the Zarya. And Fnatic are going to be pretty much going for the lineup that they've been doing this entire time.
To be fair, like, if you know Fnatic's tendency, as it commonly is, to go for mostly just the McCree Reaper, you probably have a little bit more confidence in picking a Junkrat here, knowing that they're not going to have a Tracer Genji to sort of very easily get on you and assassinate you. But we've seen Buds play Genji. We know he can do it.
The thing is that what I really dislike kind of about both comps is that you don't have a way to force Transcendence unless somehow you headshot him with a stray bullet out of McCree or use a Graviton Surge. You don't have a Dragon Blade to force them to use the Sound Barrier or the Transcendence to give you an advantage in the fight. They're just kind of hoping that by the numbers, they know they have a better ult percent and to use that for themselves.
So we talked up Fnatic's defense a lot beforehand. We said it was very, very good, mostly on the first point. They completely proved us wrong there and got broken.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
Yeah, absolutely. So Fnatic now attacking. The thing is, all they have to do is finish the map. Misfits weren't able to finish the map at all, so even if it takes Fnatic the full length of the match, as long as they finish the map, they get the win here. Misfits used to be very, very good at holding on this first point as well in their own way, but now teams have stopped going to the right as attackers. They've gone to the left now, coming around the side. So it doesn't benefit Misfits as much anymore. Let's see what they can put together. Let's see how aggressive they want to get on the Fnatic and see if they can stop them in their tracks before they can set up.
Yeah, I think Fnatic are just feeling confident in the 6-on-6 skirmish of pushing straight into each other's faces, not using any flanking tactics like we saw Misfits do out of Zapper on the Tracer. I think they're more than confident to just kind of go this kind of route. And it's going to be really hard to play Reinhardt in these situations as well, because you can't let your shield go down. However, you need to build up ult percent. You need to stay in line with the enemy Reinhardt to be able to have Earthshot at the same time. And yet, you need to make sure your shield stays up to protect your teammates, because you have a Reaper behind you. You have a Lucio, you have a Zenyatta, you have a McCree behind you to help protect you and to help do some damage through your shield. Custa, though, already going to the high ground, so looks like Fnatic want to go this route. And aren't Misfits prepared for this?
I like the little boost jump there from Cool Matt. Yeah, Misfits prepared. We'll have to wait and see now. They're going to go straight in. Custer notices positioning, staying behind the Reinhardt, keeping him healed up with that Harmony Orb as much as he can. No kills have actually happened yet here. It's Fnatic and Misfits locked in a deadly dance without any blood truly being drawn. Zepstar going a little bit low, and now it looks like Misfits want to come forward just that touch a little further here. Custer constantly staying out towards the side, making himself scarce here, and still no actual wall damage being done. Soon falls. He's the first to go. This is terrible for Misfits. They need to keep that McCree alive, but he's been picked off at the start of the fight, and Crew's going to follow pretty soon after here. Fnatic players slow, steady, and looks like they're turning this in their favor.
You can't have that happen. Vonethil was standing behind Soon that entire fight, attacking him. He didn't get disrupted at all, and he was able to pick him up 1v1 when he wasn't even facing him, so it was like a 1v0. That should never happen, and that just shows how aggressive and how confident Vonethil is in his Lucio in general, and how confident he can play against a team like Misfits. So Fnatic will take it on the first attack. Though I did like the way Misfits defended. They actually sat really far back. They didn't hold the choke. They let them take the staircase. They actually let them come into them. And as you saw, with no kills coming through, it was initially a good defense, but you can't let your McCree down or Lucio 1v1.
But Fnatic also did well at keeping themselves alive, because that's like the poke damage phase of a fight, right? You just sort of peek out from behind the Reinhardt shield and hope to get someone. But Misfits lose soon. Their most important hero in that case is not good. But now, Misfits start the fight off. You can see they use that little ledge as a launch pad. But Fnatic, what a perfect disengage there. So quickly, they backed away instantly, taking all the momentum, all the impetus away from Misfits. Zepstar used a sound barrier for nothing.
Yeah, IDDQD didn't get the notice either there, unfortunately. He's kind of stuck on the ledge, and he's like, all right, well, I'm pretty much going to die here, so I might as well jump into them and try to get some ult percent built up. Actually used his Deadeye in that fight. I think that's why he was stuck there without his teammates to actually escape that one. But in the meantime, Fnatic are still pushing forward. Skipjack going to jump down yet again behind them, and Buds is looking for the opportunity to use his Death Blossom. He knows they have the Transcendence, and Nevix is holding on to this one tightly.
Yeah, Nevix knows he's going to need to pull that one out of the hat if we do see a big Reaper ult come across now. Graviton Surge is going to be tucking Misfits together, but no one's there to tie it up in a bow. Zappara gets himself 3 kills in the mix, and even Zepstar contributing there as well. Nicely done by Misfits. They baited the Graviton Surge in from Fnatic, and then, of course, they had the Reaper in the back to do the damage. Well, he definitely took Fnatic to church.
Now Fnatic go back on the attack again. As you said before, it's not based off time. They can pass the 81.01 meters. They will have won this second map, and most importantly, won the initial match in Group A. He's coming up after this. We still have Envious up against Dignitas. Fnatic, though, pushing the payload. Stu can be on the ground pretty much by himself as Vonethal's getting swatted down. IDDQD just has not been effective too well in this initial match so far, but he's able to take down the kill on his opponent soon, and he's looking for more.
That's right, he doesn't have the flash yet. You had to wait for the cooldown. Now he wanted to try and get the flash, and now he flashes into a shielded Reinhardt. IDDQD should be running to the ground now as well. Death Blossom coming out here from Buds doesn't get anyone at all, and Nevix just cheekily flicks an orb in his direction and kills him after the fact. IDDQD has Deadeye available here, and Vonethil coming back in with Stoop, so they can actually keep fighting here. They've lost half their team, but they're not stopping yet.
But because it's such an extended fight, Misfits aren't able to get that high ground back, so they're going to be challenged out on the ground. They do have those soon on the high ground to at least give them some sort of control. He does have Deadeye available, but how are Misfits going to go about this attack? You can see Fnatic actually going for the high ground themselves, and they're going to catch them off from behind. Can IDDQD hit these shots?
Yes, well, it was a shielded Sue, but there's the headshot. It's IDDQD finds the marker now, and Deadeye coming in and gets himself a couple more. Why not? A bag of kills for the giant Swede here. It's going to be Zappara and Zeba to fall down, and Nevix is going to face the same fate. It's all about the damage dealers right now for Fnatic, and they are showing up.
I don't understand how Soon didn't see that. He had a shield on him. He was being shot from the backside. He didn't even turn around. He died too quickly, and that just cost him the second checkpoint. Now they have to hold for 4 minutes and 40 seconds and not let him get around this corner. You can see the gold marker on your screen there by Soon. They cannot pass this point, or Fnatic will win 2-1.
It's the same thing we saw from Misfits in Mat 1, Jason, as well. Payload doesn't seem to benefit them so much right now. Their attacks seem to stall out or be too late, or whichever one. They're just too slow coming forward now. And they've got to make up right here with a good defense, but Fnatic are going to be more than happy to fight them head-to-head here. IDDQD picking off Zapre early on. This is going to be Fnatic going in for the fight.
Oh, Ground Twister's going to come through. Fnatic have to be smart, not commit any ultimates here. Just let themselves die, try to build some ultimates, and Custa in the meantime with Vonethil trying to push this payload up a little bit further so they have a little bit more of an advantage. And actually keeping Vonethil alive. So you're actually seeing them let him keep them alive so they can offset the spawns a little bit more and make it that much more difficult for Fnatic to go on the attack again. So it buys them, what, like 5 seconds of time? Yeah. 5 seconds can mean everything in this game.
Vonethil just spawned back in then, so that's how long Fnatic have to wait for them to have a full cohort of heroes to come forward. Still, they're not going to lose too much time. They let Vonethil come in last. It's a Lucio. You can speed boost yourself up to join the rest of your team, so you don't lose that much time ultimately. Ults though, we do have an Earth Shatter here for Stoop. Of course, we've got the Transcendence and we've got a Graviton Surge. That's just what you need here for Fnatic. It's how they put these to good use though is going to be important. Soon channels Deadeye, just a zone right now on towards Fnatic, but they saw it coming, they backed away, and now they're ready to fight again. Vonethil on Zebasai, how does that happen?
I don't know, but the Ground Twister's going to be following this one up, but as soon as just locked into this pit, pretty much by himself, his entire team is taken down at Fnatic. They picked up almost a team ace because Zebasai just respawned back in, and they're in the home stretch here. Can Misfits somehow get anyone on this payload to contest?
The fact is that Stoop has his Earth Shatter still, so if Misfits try and rush that on towards the point, he can just lay the hammer down and stop them in their tracks, but Zapre gets on towards the payload. He realizes now he's been caught, he gets Earth Shatter down, and IDDQD finishes him off. Misfits trying to work in now with this Transcendence, stay alive and stay stalling. Stoop doesn't miss many charges, but that was one of them still. He's going to have to fall, of course, with the Discord Orb on him. This is what Fnatic did to Misfits in that last half. Misfits come back in. They managed to stall out, but only just. Stoop used his ultimate just to catch Zapre. I know he wanted to try and get the payload across the line, but in hindsight, might have been better off saving that one for an actual fight.
In the heat of the moment, though, he thought if we can kill Zapre here, we can snowball this fight.
Skipjack did the same thing.
You saw Zebasai, he rushed straight into the point and immediately got picked off. He contested for like a split second, and that was it. So they maybe overestimated how well they were off in that fight. But now, Misfits have a second chance to actually put this one. But the problem is now, if Fnatic are cheeky, if they keep a man on the payload and Misfits aren't paying attention, they can just have that finish off the game. And we've seen that happen more than once.
Sneak around, yep. They could just put the one man on, try and get it across the line here, but it's likely they probably need all hands on deck for this last push here. 2 minutes left, now the Deadeye comes out. There is a Reinhardt shield up on top here, and IDDQD's trying to be patient, wait for the targets to present themselves. He's not going to be able to get on towards Zapre up on the corner there as well, but Buds gets himself 2 kills. We're watching IDDQD, but he's just really the janitor at the backside. Most of the fight's happening here on the payload. Zebasai, he's just a little Lucio. He didn't do anything wrong. He gets taken down, and even Crew has to fall here. Fnatic, they come back in for a second fight, and Skipjack as well, trying to boost himself on towards this point as quickly as he can. Nevix going to jump forward, use that Transcendence to try to keep the payload contested, as is Zapre, trying to do the same thing on this Tracer.
Stoop's going to redeem himself, that Earth Shatter hitting 2, though IDDQD picks up 2 himself. The payload is still moving, and Fnatic are going to close out the series in a 2-1 scoreline. They're going to the winner's match of Group A.
Well, it wasn't the prettiest of series, I have to say, Jason. Fnatic were definitely forced to go for that Dorado pick after a bit of a sloppy Nepal, but still, they'd be happy enough with that win to move forward here. And it seems as if their attacks have just been 1 or 2 minutes better than Misfits in general.
And thinking about this entire series, going into the entire series, Buds, to me, was the real linchpin of Fnatic. If he can perform, because I really had some doubts in him in just past, previous performances. IDDQD is always the man you're going to look at Fnatic being the big damage dealer, but he came up big. His Reaper on defense shut Misfits down on the final attack, and his Reaper then on the last attack picked up 2 early kills while IDDQD was off chasing a Reaper to the side, and that was enough for them to close out the series, to close out that last map. And now they're looking to play against the winner of Team Envious and Team Dignitas.
So if you're a European fan as well, it's probably good to bear in mind that this was the first team from Europe to qualify for the showdown. Top seed from Europe here, falling to arguably the number 3 seed from North America. Now, we could maybe make a case for number 2 here, but generally speaking, we've seen both Team Envious and Cloud9 perform better than Fnatic. So, let's play this thought exercise out, Jason. If this is number 3 from NA beating number 1 of EU, it's looking fairly grim early on here, potentially, for the Europeans.
Thing is, I don't think we can count out Reunited. We still have Team Dignitas, who have been on a slump lately, but can come out fighting. And we still have Rogue as well, who are the only European champions, actually, so far. There's only been one LAN. That was at TakeOver, and they won that one. So there's definitely a good chance that we could see them show up, though. You're right. Misfits, number 1 seed, come into this, definitely have a good chance. And not to mention Group B. I mean, let's just play it out as well as that Envious say they take first place from Group A. It comes down to who gets second place in Group B to play against Envious in the semifinal. That's going to be rough.
Everyone's trying to avoid that as well. But one thing I don't really want to avoid is passing over to the stage with Seltzer and Swedish superstar IDDQT from Fnatic.
Thank you so much, guys. IDDQT, an excellent job. We had a brief chance to talk before the match, and you said your team was feeling confident. You guys were ready for this matchup. So how do you feel after the match?
Insane. We've been wanting to take Misfits down for the longest time. They played really, really well, but I think we got the best of them. Again, aggressiveness. I feel like I think they were a little bit overconfident in their fighting. If they would have held a little bit back, I think it would have gone differently.
Well, you guys got the opportunity to practice before this tournament. You got a little boot camp. What was the boot camp like? What did you guys focus on? What was the most important thing for you to get right before you came here to this event?
Well, it was the first time where we met, all of us, and I think team chemistry was very important. Synergy and just trying to learn each other out. You completely on a different field and just get better at the game, I guess.
So this is the first time you guys met in person. Was there like a moment where you kind of saw your teammates and you're like, this team's gonna do great?
I guess so. I guess so.
All right, was there any of your teammates that kind of stood out to you in person as maybe being a little different from online?
I think all of them play exceptionally well. I think they're all great players, and they really showed today that they are. I think I can't just pick one. They're all good players.
Well, this is kind of one of the first times we're getting a look at you in person ourselves, so forgive me if I'm getting a little curious here, but can you fill me in on what your team communication is like? Who's calling the shots, and what the voices are saying during the match?
Oh, one of those was shot caller. He's literally, choosing where to go, what kind of strat, what kind of ultimates they're having, and the rest of us is literally shot calling, in terms of targets and so forth. So if we have a different target from that one of those saying, we're going to let him know and just try and adapt to that.
Well, we asked you which one of your teammates you kind of rely on most individually, and you said Stoop. He's a big part of your play. What's your communication like with him, and what times do you guys kind of step away from the team and make your own decisions?
Well, there was one point on Dorado where he actually got a 5-man ulti and he called for the flashbang. I unfortunately missed it, but if it would have worked, it probably would have been, better on screen. But he kind of carries there, and Reinhardt and McCree go hand in hand. So.
All right, well, we'll be seeing a lot more of you throughout this tournament. Thank you so much, IDDQT. Guys, we're going back to the analyst desk. We got more games coming up.
Thank you so much. Yeah, guys, what an upset in the first series. I mean, not for Huck, he knew all along, right? But for the rest of us here at the desk, that was a bit of a surprise.
Yeah, absolutely, and we did hear Mitch say it. This was the number 3 ranked, or in our minds at least, in a lot of people's minds, the community's minds, probably the number 3 ranked team in NA just took out maybe the number 1 ranked team in EU. That's pretty insane.
It's definitely a bit of a card down to everybody else. Certainly, the guys in Group B are going to be like, hang on a minute, Cloud9 are in our group. But more importantly, Dignitas are coming up next to me thinking, well, now we're in trouble because we've struggled against Misfits in the past. It's really going to be interesting, but let's talk about this game. I mean...
Definitely. At the beginning, actually.
It was
Fnatic's
so
positioning at the very beginning when they were on defense. You pointed some stuff out there. That was a pretty big mistake on their side, actually.
Yeah, the positioning was really, really awkward from Fnatic. On the church phase, they didn't take the high ground. On the first phase, they're way back in the courtyard. It didn't... I don't know, it was very confused. And then it seemed like Misfits just was plowing through that map completely. And then at the very end, Fnatic's like, you know what?
Nah.
No more. This is where we're going to hold it. And we're going to see the turning point here. It's just Stoop coming in big with the Reinhardt. He's going to slam his hammer down, and he stuns like, I want to say 3 or 4 people.
And after the charge as well, so he charged Winston, goes for the Earth Shatter, and I feel like this is a recurring theme here, Stoop with huge clutch plays for his team.
And it's even bigger because they were already down 2 people. And that's such a risky call.
And the combo as well. You can see Custer and IDDQT on the ledge there.
Yes.
Custer constantly Discord orbing, IDDQT picking off the targets. They were calling targets constantly.
And here we have another big play, actually.
Yeah, right here at the end, they're just going to clean up. I mean, all in all, it was a close match, and Misfits almost held, and this was the point where we thought maybe they could do it. They had 1 or 2 ultimates.
Yeah.
It was right at the end of the game. They have plenty of time, but Fnatic, great play. And you were showing me something earlier, very interesting, about 81 meters.
Yeah, so Misfits actually lost to Reunited at 81.09 meters, and they just got 81 meters against Fnatic. They seem to have a problem closing this map out. And bear in mind that's obviously we just saw Stoop's awesome ulti and then IDQ picking up. They were at 2 minutes at that point. Yes. 2 minutes. We were thinking we're going to see a record time here. This is incredible. Fnatic are never going to be able to beat this pace, and then they held on for so long in that final point. Massive credit to Fnatic. Really showed mental strength after going 3-0, getting clean sweeps on the pole, no problem. To come back like that, Dorado was really good.
They kept their calm already at the first map when we saw them on King's Row. The amount of time they stayed calm and held that point, and now in this game again, like their defensive play and the calmness they have in it seems very strong to me.
At the same time, you also have to feel pretty bad for Misfits because they had all the momentum going behind them for the first point. You know, second point, just a clutch save by Stoop. But they got to the third point with several minutes left. They were just a couple meters from finishing off Dorado. Yet, and actually, Fnatic was in a position where they had to trickle on into the point, one at a time. Yet still, even in that situation, Misfits couldn't get the clutch kill to move the payload into its final point. It was really just 1 or 2 people there at a time for Fnatic, and they still got the kills.
And something we didn't see on the clip there was ADDQD's ulti when they were on the attack. Because they were starting to get snarled up at the church section. They were wiped out 2 or 3 times already. And ADDQD got the flank on the bridge, managed to get a triple ult from a Deadeye, which rarely happens in pro games. I mean, obviously, guys have been playing pubs. They'd be like, yeah, I just got 4 or 5 with my Deadeye. It's like, yeah, it doesn't happen so often in the pro games, especially at a huge event like this. So massive props for him to find that position.
Yeah, I think overall, from everything, Snoop's ult when they're down 2 men, IDDQD doing that cheeky flank, they're willing to take risks.
Yeah.
And that's the big thing. They were playing very loose, very comfortable, and they end up with the win here. And I think they're going to be feeling fairly confident going into the next match, if maybe, but they're going to play Envious, and that's going to be a problem.
That is true. So let's actually head over and take a look at the brackets so we know where we're standing and what's coming up next for us. We just saw Fnatic going up against the Europeans from Misfits, 2-1 the result there. And now we're going to see Team Envious, the favorite of the tournament, going up against Team Dignitas. I can very much call them the biggest underdog of the tournament.
Yes.
So that's going to be I don't know, like, do you think it's going to be very one-sided, or do you really think that the factor that we are here at the tournament, and a lot of those teams don't have that much experience with it, and mostly not in Overwatch, it's a new thing. Do you think that's going to play into it? Will we see a surprise? Can we see a surprise?
It's crazy to call Dignitas such underdogs, but they really are. But the fact is they won the last offline event, effectively, which was against Rogue, the Alienware tournament they had in France. So they all flew to Paris, won it 3-0. Easy stuff. Creation were looking like amazing team. Obviously picked up by Dignitas because they're coming into this as a big team. Problem is they're against Envious, who are, what, 55-0. They've been in a gaming house for 3 to 4 months now, since before the game came out. They were there for a month or 2 before that. So while everybody's boot camped for a week, these guys have been boot camping for 4 months. These guys are prepared.
Yeah, I would say the one thing is that Envious actually have been on vacation for about a week.
For a week,
lot of them. They have been home visiting different European countries.
It's because somebody had a dental issue.
Oh, really?
So they were forced.
They were on a holiday because
forced holiday.
It's forced holidays, yeah. But well, I think it will be an incredible thing to look at for an upset from Dignitas, taking Envious a streak away from them. We'll see if that's going to happen or not. Before that, we're going to head into a break. So stay tuned, and then we're coming up with the second match of the day. Team Envious going up against Team Dignitas, and you wouldn't want to miss that for a thing.